All right, here we have the KDE Desktop Plasma. And you can see here it has a start menu in the bottom left, just like Windows does. And the
That
interface is
looks a
actually very
little like
similar to
Windows
Windows.
10, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But what you can change the color scheme, and you could even get rid of the start menu and replace it with something completely different if you feel like it. This is just the stock one it comes with. It actually is
You're,
very reminiscent of like the Windows 7.
if you're really a masochist, you can make it look like Windows 8, I'm sure.
Gonna make me queasy. um,
Everybody will vomit along with us on that.
Windows 8, what a failure! Oh my goodness.
Oh, geez. I think 11 may turn out to be the next failure.
It might, yeah. In fact, Windows 11 looks a lot like Pop OS with the launcher and everything. They took away the start menu and they give you this launcher. It's like, looks very similar. Okay, so yeah, we have our KDE Plasma. You can see in the bottom right, it's got the time and date, and all the icons are very pretty much exactly like Windows. This one also has some pretty good built-in applications. The file browser is called Dolphin, and it's pretty good. You can see it's got the little sidebars here, just like Windows. It's very similar to Windows. Um, it is very very similar in terms of look and feel. So if you're wanting to switch to Linux, but you don't want to jump out of the Windows user face interface, um, give KDE a try. It might turn out pretty good. Uh, this one here is X. Wait a minute, we are totally missing. It might pop up in a minute. I'm not sure. This next one is called Xfce. Again, I do not know what that stands for. And this one looks very old. When you first install it, it looks like it's from the early 2000s. It looks like a Windows X,
This
like
is never
98 kind of interface.
one anyway.
Um, this one, though, the main advantage behind this one is that it performs really well. Each desktop environment has different levels of system requirement, like not requirements, but certain ones will perform better than others. Most of them will perform like real time. You won't notice any lag. But if you've got a really slow computer, like just a really, and it's lagging even on Linux, you might want to try Xfce because it is very lightweight. It doesn't have a lot of built in features. It does take a bit of customization to get it looking good, but you can make it look good. In fact, my laptop here is running Xfce, and I've been running Xfce for about almost about 3 years now. Um, and I have it customized to look a lot like Windows. I've got the dark theme, I've got the taskbar, the start menu, and everything. So it can be customized a lot. Just because it looks really horrible right in this picture and as default doesn't mean it can't be customized. Um, so picking a desktop environment that's right for you, you can just kind of go with what you want. Some of them will replicate Windows 10. Some will look like Mac. You can find ones that look, or you can find themes. A lot of these environments have a area where you can go and find themes, and users can make themes that make it look like certain operating systems. I could go and find a theme that would like perfectly replicate Mac OS if I wanted. You wouldn't be able to tell that it wasn't Mac OS. So there's some pretty cool stuff like that. So Cosmic Gnome, that's the default for Pop OS. I like the default color scheme. It's pretty good. You can add extensions to this, and that's where you can add little customizations. In my desktop, I have a little extension that shows the network traffic. So if I'm downloading or uploading, it'll tell me how many kilobits a second it's uploading or downloading. That's kind of nice to just keep an eye on stuff and make sure it's working. It can be customized a lot. Ever I said that performance is pretty good. Most of these performances are going to be good. The only one that really has a different performance would be KDE and Xfce. KDE is a little bit heavier. I wouldn't recommend putting it on something very very slow, and Xfce is the most like the fastest one. The Ubuntu GNOME desktop environment, and you can install like the base Ubuntu GNOME desktop environment on top of Pop OS. It won't care. Um, it has a classic look for a lot of people. Yeah, when you think of Linux, a lot of people think of the GNOME desktop environment. Personally, I think it has a somewhat dated color scheme with like the brown and beige and tan colors it uses. I think that's kind of ugly, but you can change all that. Plasma, I already talked about this pretty much. Everything on here, yeah, I talked about this. Xfce, yeah, you can make it look really nice if you want, but it does look ugly out of the box. So those are the main pros and cons behind each one. And there's a whole bunch more. There are a lot more desktop environments. These are just like the main ones that I know about. There are a lot more. Okay, so after you've installed, you have two alongside each other. Say you install Pop! OS, but you want KDE. So you install KDE. Uh, the way you switch between the two is actually really simple. You go on you log out of your session, you log out, and there's a little gear. The gear is usually underneath the password entry. Sometimes it's at the bottom right of the screen. It is on the bottom right for me. And you click the gear and you can actually choose what you want. So you can choose POP or you can choose Xfce or whatever else you have installed right there in that little menu. So that's how you change it. And it's as simple as that. If one day you're feeling, hey, I'd like to use a Mac OS interface, you can. The next, 5 minutes later, yeah, I'm tired of this. I want to go to Windows 10. You can do that, and you can nothing changes except for the interface. So that's really cool. Oh, and one side note, you may notice that it says POP twice, and one of them says Xorg and one says Wayland. That is the display compositor, I think. And the only difference between that is that Xorg is really old, but it works pretty well. Wayland is new, trying to replace Xorg. You don't really need to mess with that unless you know what you're doing. I'm hearing somebody's radio. Somebody's radio is coming through. Is that who's talking? I don't know who that is.
Joseph, Joseph?
Yeah.
My understanding is that you've got the operating system and you've got the user interface, and although it looks like a Mac or it looks like Windows, you can't run Windows software on it.
So that is something that is actually not true. You can run Windows software.
Oh, great.
Most Windows applications will work. Now, here in the ham radio area, where we try and use rather niche programs that are, made by a single person, some of those will sometimes not work. And that's one thing to note, is that you cannot run every single Windows application. Most will work okay. Some will not. And when they don't, there's not really anything you can do about it unless you're a programmer. And I do need to go through that. Actually, I don't think I made a slide for that, but it's pretty quick to demonstrate. So I'll do that later. How to run Windows stuff. I have it set up right now on my computer. I can just double click any installer or exe file and just launch it, and it works just like it would on Windows. So yeah, that's a really cool thing about Linux, is that you can do that. And same goes for games. If you have Steam, which is where most games are located, you can pretty much every single Steam game will run natively on Linux or using it'll run. It's just great. It's really fantastic how well it works.
I'm actually wanting to try to run my old program on Linux and see if it runs better. It's an old program, an old strategy program called Command and Conquer General 0 Hour. And it does not run worth a crap on these new Windows machines. I bet you it'll run good on Linux.
It very well could. There was an old racing game that I used to play a lot, and then I got the new computer, and Windows was updated a million times, and it wouldn't run. It just crashed every single time. Well, a few months later, I switched to Linux, and I try and run this game, and I'm like, there's no way this has worked. If it doesn't work on Windows, there's no way it works on Linux. And it worked. And I was able to play this game from like 2004 on Linux, and it ran great. It was amazing.
I think it's because it uses your system differently. Old programs don't know how to utilize the new systems, but for some reason, Linux handles it much better. It may just be that it just runs faster just because it's a better operating system. I don't know. All right. Well, I do have the camera up on the one that we're converting. So when you are ready for that, we can go to that. I'm just letting you know.
All right. This is like one of the last ones.
Yeah, there's no rush at all.
Yeah, so for performance, that's one of the things.
We got Linux the real important stuff coming up, actually. The goods and the bads.
Oh, yeah.
I should have got the good, bad, and the ugly theme, so I could have played that while you were doing it. Okay. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Like you were saying with the performance, Linux actually tends to take, whatever you're actively working on, and it throws all the system resources at that one thing. That is, it has different, it's a different method of computing. It handles the CPU timing differently, and it is a lot more performance geared. It's geared towards performance. So yeah, questions people may ask. Why bother learning a completely different computing environment? Well, I guess the pros and cons will kind of answer that, but mainly because it's just so much better than Windows if you don't mind the occasional tinkering. Windows, you can tinker all you want and you still won't fix your problem because their tech support is just an automated response. And there's no answer for your obscure question because that's what always happens to me every time I have a Windows problem. No one's ever heard of that problem before. But on Linux, the tech support is fantastic.
Can I just ask a question? Has anyone ever had that troubleshooter button on Windows actually fix a problem? Anyone, anywhere, anytime, come now.
It might make it worse.
That's what I thought. Go ahead, Joseph.
That troubleshooter has never done anything for me.
It doesn't do anything. It always comes back and says, we're unable to fix your problem. And I always say, why did I waste my time on this troubleshooter?
Or maybe your internet connection isn't working and
Yeah.
your internet connection is just fine.
Oh, wait, blue screen.
Other questions. What are the advantages? We're going to get into that with our pros and cons list. And this is a lot of things. I see a lot of people think Linux is what hackers use, and they're right, but it isn't just for hackers. We people who use Linux don't put on hoodies and sit over our laptop and type with falling lines of green code on our screen. That's I'm sure some people do that, but that's not what I do, or not most of the time, at least.
Trying to crash a national security agency or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna hack the FBI. Yeah, that's what the hacker stereotype. If you're talking, Rick, we can barely hear you.
That's not me. I don't know who that is.
It sounds like a radio. I think it's a radio in the background somewhere.
Henry.
Yeah. I had a couple of mine on, but I've got them all off now. But so I don't know where it's come from, but it's not that loud.
It's not a big deal. Oh, it's somebody's radio. Yeah, I hear the.
Yeah,
the
there's
single
definitely a
sideband.
radio on in the background.
Yeah. I hear the single sideband noise. Alrighty. Okay. One of the main advantages is Linux does not have bloatware. Now, I am very extremely frustrated by this. Every time I install Windows on something, it comes with 5 million different stupid applications like these games. It comes with these Candy Crush games that are like from the Windows Store or whatever. It comes with like 5 different these just repulsive games. I mean, Solitaire is one thing, and the original OG Windows games were actually kind of decent, but the stuff it comes with now is just complete crap. It'll also come with all these like power managers. If you use the version of Windows that comes with a laptop that you buy from Costco or whatever, it'll come with like a million different Acer programs installed, and it'll just come with so much crap installed on it. And you have to literally, one of my jobs at work when we set up a new computer is removing all the crap from it. I call it decrapifying. I have to go in and uninstall 10 different applications. So
And you'll never get it all out.
It kinda
no,
sucks.
it reinstalls every time you make a new
Yeah.
user or do updates.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. Another advantage and disadvantage is that it is not owned by a huge corporation. It's owned by, well, nobody. It's open source, but it's all the code that's been contributed has been done by thousands of people separately as volunteer work over time. So that's good because it means if Microsoft decides, hey, we're going to start looking at all your files in the name of security or whatever, they can't do it to you. And it's bad because, well, when a major company they have paid developers, and those developers are very good at what they do and they're paid to do it. And so you get usually a better product. And that's one thing this doesn't have. It's all open source, which means all of the work is volunteer. And sometimes it can be a bit lacking in features and things you might want it to have. So it performs much better. I've already talked about that. I've installed this on an old computer many times. I have this laptop from like 2006 or something, and I've put Ubuntu on there, and it's still usable for server stuff. So yeah, if you've got a really old laptop that just could not handle Windows and it's slow
Okay,
on whatever it
10-year-old
has.
netbook. I've got Peppermint Linux on it.
Netbooks, that's another very good thing. It can even be installed on Chromebooks, I think.
Yeah.
But performance is a major gain. Windows will take hours to start up on an old computer, and this will start up in almost no time. And yeah, tech support is really good. I've already talked about that. But if you Google your issue, if you Google your error code, there are websites like Stack Exchange, and there are forums, and there are lots of places where you'll find people with the same error. And more often than not, there will be an answer supplied, which just gives you all the stuff you need to do. Most answers given are very detailed and very easy to follow. They'll just give you a set of commands to run or a set of instructions. And, that doesn't apply to everything. It's not always like that, but more often than not, I found that it is, and I've fixed many problems. Most of my problems I have are self-inflicted because I mess around too much. But tech support is very, very good because all the users know what they're doing. And so they can help you really well. A distribution. This is something that is pretty important. So there's the base Linux. It's not really a distribution, but there are lots of forks, and I have a little picture I want to show here in a second. Linux started off as this one little one kernel thing, and then it was given a desktop environment eventually, and it has been split off by so many people over time that there are just thousands and thousands of these things, not thousands, but hundreds of distributions. So for example, Pop! OS, which is what we're installing tonight, is a distribution of Debian. Pop! OS is based off Ubuntu, which is a distribution of Debian. And Debian is based off of whatever, I don't know what the original point of that was. But you're so many different distributions, and the thing to look for when picking one are, do you like the default interface? Look at some pictures. Usually the website where they have it hosted will show you some pictures of the interface, and if you like it, that's a good thing. Driver support. Pop! OS is one of the best of driver support distributions because they have a built-in driver manager. Or not manager, but they have a built-in driver system. It'll find it, like for example, my graphics card. That all comes pre-set up and it works wonderfully. I didn't have to mess with it at all. Pre-installed packages. Some distributions are geared towards having minimal packages pre-installed. It gives you only the very basics you need to get functioning. Whereas others will come with, a ton of stuff or just the right amount of stuff, Another thing to note is the goal behind the distribution. I think this is kind of important. You want to read what their website says and see what they're trying to accomplish with it. That can be very good. Some of them are trying to accomplish, a nice standard distribution, which is what Pop! OS has done pretty good, I think. Some of them are, trying to do for gaming. Some are set up for gaming. Some are set up for other things like streaming, or there's lots of different purposes behind different distributions. And of course the performance, based off user reviews or a YouTube video or something, they'll tell you how good the performance is usually. And, some people have said, they tried different distributions and each one gave them different problems with their hardware. And that's what I mean with the driver support thing. Even though it's all based off the same thing and it should theoretically work, sometimes there's differences in the versions of stuff and it'll cause conflicts and whatnot. So that's something to keep in mind. How well does it work with the hardware? And right now, Ubuntu and Pop! OS are probably the best working ones right now. So yeah, we'll be doing Pop! OS today. We're pretty much almost ready to, we got to do pros and cons is next, right? I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. I've been kind of.
Yeah, pros and cons are next.
Okay. All right. We'll go through Windows first. It is beginner friendly. It is what most people start with. And it's relatively easy to use. It's been around for a very long time as the most popular operating system. So it's beginner friendly, I guess. Large range of software. So while it is true, you can run a lot of stuff on Linux. Most applications are made for Windows. You can almost guarantee that everything will have a Windows version, which cannot be said for Mac OS or Linux. It's pre-installed on most things. So buy a new computer, it'll already be pre-installed, which is, good or bad, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But, if you just want something to work, you want to run into the store, pick up a laptop and take it home and start using it right away, it'll be pre-installed and it'll work. Comprehensive driver support. That's the other thing. Pretty much all hardware ever made has a Windows driver for it. And, you may have to install it. It may not work out of the box, but it'll be there. That cannot be said for Linux, but that, you know. Okay. The disadvantages of Windows. Overly complex. There's right now there are 2 different control panels. All right. There used to be 1 control panel, then Windows 8 came along, and now there's 2. There's settings and control panel. I don't know who thought that was acceptable. They're slowly starting to phase out control panel.
Because if one's complicated, two's more complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do they have 2? They should have kept the old one or whatever.
I'm starting to think like Windows.
More frequently targeted by malware.
Bunny farm.
Yeah. Yeah, malware. Every time you hear about a new malware coming out, a new malware, yeah, you can guarantee you it affects Windows users primarily. It's not open source, so the code is, I think the code was leaked recently, or some of it was leaked, but it's not open source, so you can't really have the transparency you have with Linux. With Linux, you can go and read all the code if you feel like it, but cannot be said for Windows. Cost of licenses. If you want to install Windows on a machine that didn't come with it, you're going to have to purchase a license, and those can be pretty costly, especially if you want like Windows Pro. It costs like, I don't know, I'm not actually sure how much it costs. Probably around $100, I think. You can get them for really cheap some places, or you can just straight up skip that and use some trickery to make Windows think you're registered. But the licensing cost is a big issue. Forced updates. I'm pretty sure I don't need to say much more than that. Bloatware, I've already talked about that. It comes with a bunch of crap pre-installed. Disallowed actions. That's another thing that always frustrates me. They have certain folders that are locked off from the user. Like the Windows 10 store, if you install a program in there, you have to brute force that folder out of the operating system. It will not let you in there. It will not let you make changes in there. It doesn't even want you looking in there. Don't look in our App Store folder. You can't do that. Even though you bought this program, you're not allowed to look at the files. That's their attitude toward this. And
that's what I hate about Windows. You buy a program in a computer that you bought. The program's yours. You bought it. You take it home. You open it up. You turn it on. And now they have complete access to you and your system. And they force updates on you and all that going forward. And I'm done with it, to be honest with you. And I eventually want to switch everything I do over to Linux for just the forced updates, the disallowed actions, and the bloatware alone.
Yeah. The disallowed actions just really tick me off because I'm always messing with the back end of stuff and tinkering with it. And I want to go modify something, and to be given Windows to tell me you're not allowed in this folder is like, yeah. Yes, I am. It's my computer.
Yeah.
But it's not just folders.
While we get Windows ready.
It's not just folders, it's settings too. Like you'll go into the Windows update and you'll go to uninstall. There's a lot of the Windows updates that you'll try to uninstall them and it won't let you uninstall them. It doesn't give you the button. The button just doesn't come up. Yeah. And that's what we mean by disallowed actions. And Linux does not have any of that.
No, and Linux,
you have complete control.
If you want to nuke something off your system on Linux, you can. It may break your system if you nuke the wrong thing, but if you want to nuke it, you can nuke it. Nothing will stop you. Of course, the run slow, poor performance. That's another reason. We already talked about that. Restarts. This is something that's very true, especially for older machines. You have to restart it constantly because it'll lock up, it'll freeze up, and it takes forever to restart, which is really annoying. Easy tracking by third parties. That's another thing. All that tracking, they ask you all those questions. Opt out instead of opt in. When you install Windows, it asks you like 30 questions about your privacy. Oh, can we have your inking and typing? Can we have your advertiser ID? Can we have your location? Can you have all this stuff? And
but then when you get to that point, when you get to a point where you install this on your system, you say no to all of those things. And yet it still installs 53 programs on your system that you didn't want. That's what I mean by opt out instead of opt in. You didn't decide to have those programs. They put them in, and now you got to figure out how to get them back out again.
Get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that's everything from the NFL app. Yes, I bought a computer that had the NFL app on it, and it would not let me uninstall it. I finally had to get a third-party app.
I've heard of like I know they install like the Netflix app and stuff, but man,
Mhm.
the NFL app
Yeah.
and all those
Yeah.
like hotel booking apps too. Like,
Yep.
why does that come pre-installed on a computer?
I don't know.
Why?
And then they won't let you uninstall it. That's my problem. It's bad enough that you put it on without me asking, but then you don't allow me to take it off. Unacceptable, inexcusable. Anyway, let's go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they want you to, if you want to make an account like a user profile on Windows without making a Microsoft account along with it, you have to go through a bunch of like hidden options where it's like a real small thing at the bottom. It's like, oh no, I don't want to use a Microsoft account. And it's like, oh, we'll do it anyway. And you have to be like, no.
Yeah.
So they really want you in there with that Microsoft account.
Windows 11 forces you to use a Microsoft account.
Do they?
Supposedly my computer.
Wow, that's going to be the system I don't go to then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You ought to read the stuff about Windows 11.
Oh, I see. I will probably never go to that system. I plan on lateraling from 10 over to Linux and be done with it.
That's a good
I'll always have a Windows machine for probably the next 3 or 4 years, but I plan to get off of it anyway.
Wow, I didn't even know they were forcing it.
Yeah, then they're using this trusted computing module.
Oh, the TPM thing?
Yeah, you got to have that. It's going to be a
Oh,
rough, but
they're
a lot
going
of
all
your
out.
machines don't even qualify to run it.
Wow. So
Wow.
Windows has put the suck in overdrive.
Big time, nuclear.
Wow, they're trying to distract you with a fancy new interface that has a blur effect.
Yeah, there you
Ooh,
go.
look at the blur and the rounded edges. Don't pay
Yeah.
attention to the tracking.
Mm.
Oh man, yeah, you don't get ads or commercials on Linux built in. None of that stuff. You can't customize Windows 10 as much. You just can't. You can sometimes find programs which like go in there and really mess with it and make it look like Mac OS or something. I've seen that before, but I wouldn't touch those with a 10-foot pole. And it's proprietary. I think same with cost of license. It's all proprietary, so not much you can do with it. There's a lot of disadvantages, and they're pretty bad too, in my opinion. Now we're going to talk about some disadvantages of Linux OS. It is very secure. We're going to talk about that. Very stable, free and open source. You can do whatever you want. Read the code, recompile the code, compile your own kernel if you want. People compile their own kernels all the time. It's easy to use. Yeah, like GNOME or Pop OS, very, very, very easy to use. Easier to use than Windows. Absolute freedom. As we said before, you can nuke whatever you want or install whatever you want. High performance. It uses the system resources much more efficiently. Like we said, it tends to more focus on more demanding tasks instead of kind of letting all the background stuff take all your CPU like Windows does with its update service. They're taking 10% CPU all day. Privacy friendly. Yeah, very privacy friendly. It's easy to install and set up. That's one thing that did not used to be true and it's been only true for the past, 5 or 6 years, maybe more than that actually. It is very easy to install and set up. Way fewer options than Windows, no privacy questions, or fewer privacy questions. So it's great. The updates, okay, these are one thing. Updates, generally, I actually look forward to the updates because they actually provide useful things and nice changes.
Their
usually,
updates actually are up.
Yeah, they're not down dates.
Hadn't had a Linux update break the system yet.
Me neither. I have never had it broken before from an update. One time I thought I had it broken by an update. That was because my hard drive was full.
Oh, well, that'll happen.
Yeah. No forced updates. Now the disadvantages.
Too small.
There's no standard edition. So with Windows, you just have Home, Pro, whatever. They're pretty much the same. You have a million different distributions to choose from, but it is pretty easy to pick out and narrow down the one you want. It has a bit of a learning curve. The terminal is something that is intimidating at first, but you don't have to use it too much. And knowing how to use a terminal is a very useful skill, I think. And even if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. You can use it just like it is. I only use it a lot because I just tinker so much. Limited market share. This is something that is actually changing a little bit because of Valve and what they're doing. Valve is a game making, it's not gaming, it's a game company. They're actually releasing a new console that runs Linux. And so that's going to really bring up the market share and put a lot of attention on Linux, because now everybody wants to develop games for Linux, and that brings all the other software with it. So, but limited market share does kind of reflect back on the, not having a big development team and all that, and the benefits you get with that. Lack of proprietary software, that's another thing. So some proprietary things like, for example, peripheral applications, like my mouse here, it has lights in it and it can be configured a lot. The software is Windows only because it's proprietary software. Same goes for webcam configurators, keyboard configurators, and any other, USB peripheral you might have. Most of the time, the software is going to be Windows only, or Windows and Mac.
I have never had any trouble with getting a Microsoft mouse to work with Linux.
No, it'll work out of the box, but
yeah.
I just mean for special case scenarios where you have a custom program to interface with it.
Yeah.
That's where you run into issues. So be on the lookout for that. If you're going to buy something, maybe you're buying like a USB GPS receiver or something like that, make sure it's cross-platform, or at least is shown to work on Linux, because if not, the driver may be Windows only and then you're screwed. So look out for that. Can be a little bit difficult to troubleshoot, but the good thing about it's actually not that difficult to troubleshoot usually. If you have an error of some kind, you will actually see a text, like a log of that error, and you can put that log into Google. Whereas with Windows, it's like unknown error. We don't know what happened. Blue screen.
Run the
error.
troubleshooter.
Run the troubleshooter.
Where the logs are.
So if you have an error, you'll generally be able to diagnose it a lot easier, because it's very, what's the word? Verbose, I think, is when something has a lot of information output. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that'll work.
So I've fixed many problems just because the error message it gives are very detailed and they are great. Some Windows programs don't work. We can talk about that later. I'll talk about how to run Windows programs. And unsupported hardware, missing drivers. I think we tried to set up an old USB Wi-Fi adapter on one of these Linux computers, and neither computer would recognize it. And upon closer inspection, it was like a Cisco, I think what you said it was.
Yeah,
like
it was a Cisco, yeah.
When I Googled it and looked it up, some people there who knew what they're talking about said that the driver for it was proprietary, and so there was no Linux version for it, which sucks, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Not a big deal. It's a 7 or 8 year old piece of equipment that costs $15. So, but yeah, you're going to run into that with Linux. That's why it's probably good to run 2 systems for a while until you make sure you've got everything you need,
Usually on an older machine, you don't run into too much trouble with that. At least it's not in my experience.
Yeah, it's just something to keep in mind.
It's been around long enough that they've built support for it.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. You're going to have a little bit of unsupported this every now and then, especially in our field where we mess around with not commercial software. We mess around with, hacked together devices and modified things and signal links and stuff like that, which are not, compared to everything else, all the other peripherals available, they're not supported as well and they're not as well known. So there's nobody to make a driver for it. So that's the main disadvantages. And, keep a second computer running Windows if you absolutely need it every now and then. That's the best thing I can say. We already talked about open source, really. We don't need this very much. It just means that the software is created by people who have not licensed it, which means you can do whatever you want with it. You can run it for any purpose. A lot of these will be like, do not run it for malicious intent or whatever. You can take apart the program, you can decompile it, change it, recompile it. You can compile it from the source with your own changes made into it. You can redistribute it. That's one thing that's really cool. If there's a piece of software that you like, that's hosted on GitHub or something like that, and you want a feature, for example, the airplane tracking software we're going to talk about later, it doesn't support the HackRF, which is a different software-defined radio, but someone has redistributed it with HackRF support, which is pretty cool. Even though the original maker of the software didn't want to do it, someone else came and did it, and they're allowed to do it because of the licensing. And yeah, it is pretty important to understand that, because that's how all of this works. It's all open source. It's all made by the people for the people. Uh, and that comes with
Yeah,
its
instead of a
benefits.
company hiring 200 people to build a program, to build an operating system, basically thousands of people have all contributed over the years to make what we have today for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's a wonderful thing, because there's no tracking and spyware. If some company tried to add tracking, like Audacity is an audio editor, they tried to add a bunch of telemetry into it because it got acquired by somebody and is now no longer open source. I heard about that right away, and so somebody forked it right before it got updated with the tracking, and so now we have a fork of it with no tracking, and everybody was up in arms about it. So if there's something out there that's gonna spy on you or have any negative effect, you'll know about it, because everybody will be upset about it in the Linux world. You have to kind of pay attention to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Customized. Oh, we're gonna do this after we. In fact, I already showed that a little bit. We can do the live demonstration now.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and do the live demonstration, and then we can talk a little bit while that's going on, because it's going to take a little while to do it. So yeah. Now, do you want to explain making the thumb drive? That's the only thing we really didn't.
Oh, I left that out.
Yeah, we kind of did, but we can explain it.
Hold on.
But you can even maybe show a desktop.
I'm going to show my desktop, and I'll take 5 seconds.
Yeah, no problem.
And I will.
So I'll explain while you're doing that. What you guys got to do is you're going to have to install this. So what you have to do is you have to make a thumb drive, and then that thumb drive becomes basically the boot disk that you're going to install your new operating system from. And we're going to have to download a little program that's going to turn your little drive into a boot disk, basically, for the Linux system. Then we'll take that over to the machine we're transferring and stick it in, and then we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But this has to be done basically, well, yeah, I guess you could do it on the same computer, but this needs to be done in Windows basically before you move any further.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
Still?
Yep, we got you. Go ahead.
All right. So to make one of these is pretty simple. You want to go to the website where the file is hosted, usually wherever the home page is for the operating system. So for Pop! OS, we're going to go to pop.system76.com. And right here, it says download. We're going to, how many full screen is here? We're going to click download. And we're going to choose the version we want. You can choose the lifetime service, which is a version that's just kind of designed to not be updated much and just keep running forever. So where you download the one you want. There's Pop! OS has an NVIDIA and Intel version. NVIDIA is usually the one you want, unless you have an AMD graphics card, which most people, it doesn't matter which one you choose, but NVIDIA is the better one. That's all you really need to know. So save your file to downloads. And then you want to get another program. This works on Windows exactly the same.
And I just want to, if I could remind everybody real quick while we're going, this is being recorded on YouTube. So tomorrow when you get your computer set up in front of you, you can go back and watch this again. And Joseph's stuff will all be right there for you again tomorrow.
Yeah, I use Balena Etcher on Linux. Works great.
Yeah, that's what I use too. So you want to go to just Google Balena Etcher. You can also use other programs like Win32 Disk Imager, or probably most generic disk imaging pieces of software should work okay. But I'm going to use Balena here. I'm going to download the, we use the Linux app image, which is pretty cool. So we're going to download that. Okay, they're downloading here. I'm going to open up the folder where they're downloading. Okay.
And I want to note that we did this originally on Windows. He's doing it right now on Linux. It doesn't matter. It works. He's able to do this on both systems.
It works on either one.
I mentioned earlier you go to Windows and do this. I just wanted to also mention you can do it on Linux as well.
You can also do it on a Mac.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know why you'd want to, but yeah.
If that's what you got, that's what you want to use. But
I'm just giving you guys a hard time. This actually, what I like about this desktop he's putting in these is it actually takes some of the best things from the Apple desktop and some of the best things from a Windows desktop and kind of smashes them together.
Yeah, really.
And it's really actually a great desktop.
Alrighty. So when you have Balana Etcher installed, it's going to look a little bit different from this. This is actually a different program. I don't know why that opened. I tried to open Balana, but it didn't open. But the steps are the same. There's the same buttons and everything. You'll choose your image, and you're going to choose the ISO file. It's a .iso file is what you're going to download from the website. So go ahead and hit open.
That's a CD disc image.
Yeah.
I think everybody's pretty much familiar with that, but yeah. And basically that's a picture of what the disc looks like. And now we've got to convert that back into like a disc that will be read like a startup disc.
Yeah. So then you'll choose your device. Make sure that whatever device you're using to save this has at least 10 gigabytes on it, I think is how much it, I think the file is like 8 or it expands. It's like a zip. It's like, anyway, make sure you have a fair amount of space on there. Probably about 10 gigs should be plenty.
Don't overwrite your hard drive.
Don't overwrite your hard drive. Balana Etcher won't even show your hard drive on there.
Yeah.
This won't show it either. It only shows USB peripherals. Make sure you take anything off of that hard drive, of the flash drive that you want to save, because this will format it and delete everything off of it.
Close it away.
Yeah. So you select your thing, and then did I type that right? I don't think I typed that right.
No,
I did it wrong again. If you're on Windows, it'll give you that little boop boop pop up that asks you if you want to do that.
admin password. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you start flashing, and it'll take probably about 5 or 6 minutes, and that'll put it on the thumb drive. So that's the steps you do. Download Balana Etcher, download the image file, open Balana Etcher, select the image file, select the drive, hit next, go, and it'll start flashing it.
This is the same steps for building a Raspberry Pi, by the way.
Exactly the same steps. In fact, Raspberry Pi has their own little program they made where you can choose the list of different Pi OSs you want, and it's built all in. You could just
I like Noobs, even though I could do it the other way, because then you could just download the operating system. It's really slick.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how you do that. That's how you put it on a thumb drive. It's pretty easy to do. And yeah, make sure, okay, this is very important. Make sure you're using an actual USB thumb drive, like one of these. If you don't, it may act like it's working. It may flash correctly. You may even be able to boot to the thumb drive or boot to the whatever you're using. But unless it's a real thumb drive, the installation will fail. I tried to use a micro SD card in a USB adapter. It acted fine all the way up until it was about halfway and done installing it on the computer, and then it had like a read-write failure. So make sure it's an actual thumb drive, because otherwise it will act like it's working, and then it'll be stop working, and you'll be like, what's wrong? Well, it's actually your installation media. All right, so that's all there is to that. We can go to the live demonstration now. I guess I stopped sharing my screen.
Yep, and I will now switch to the other camera here. All right, there we go. And that will now be, did it switch? No, there we go. And that'll be that. And now let me see if I can.
What's the computer number for 5?
There we go. Well, this one's 3.
That one's 3. Okay, we're going to be replacing 3. All right, hold on.
And I believe TeamViewer is working on it. I didn't check, but I haven't where it sets it up.
It says it's online, but it just says connecting. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, it's a slow machine, which is one of the reasons we're doing this to it tonight. All right, so what we just did was he just connected to the computer that's here, so now he's controlling it from his house, and I'm capturing it on a camera so you guys can see what we're doing.
Yeah.
I wish the camera was better, but that's what we have.
It should be good enough.
It's good.
So yeah, if you're running a Windows machine, there's 1 step you need to do, 2 steps you need to do before you're ready to install Linux. If you just go straight in without doing this, it will fail most of the time. So you actually want to open up the old control panel. If it'll open, it's very slow. Control panel. Let's see if it'll open here. There we go. So yes, in Windows 10, you need the old style control panel to get to this setting. What we're going to do is disable Fastboot. And the reason we're doing that is because the computer kind of like locks the hard drive in a weird state. And if you're trying to overwrite Windows, you won't be able to because the hard drive is in this weird limbo state between being locked and unlocked because of this Fastboot option. So you want to go into power options, which looks like a little green battery.
Now, did you show them that little, you had to switch it to small icons?
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. It's going to show category. You can get to it here, but I'm not sure which menu you have to go through. I always just go here where it says sort by. I switch it to small icon. Oh, why did it turn sideways?
I have no idea.
Question for you. Is that a regular hard drive or is that a solid state drive you got on that machine?
It's going to be a hard drive.
It's really a hard drive. Okay. Just curious.
Oh, it froze too.
All right.
I can just stream the team viewer. Well, we need this working though for later. Man. Please stand by. We are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
Here's where you need an old-fashioned TV test pattern.
Somebody around here's got one of those, I think. The one with the Indian on it. Now, is this a UEFI machine or is this a standard MS-DOS disk label?
That is a good relevant question. It's probably going to be the standard thing because this is an older machine.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can do it on EUFI machines as well. You just have to make sure you when you need to boot into EUFI. So when we'll talk about that in a minute.
EFI mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my fun with installing Linux on EFI the first time I tried to do it, but once you figure out what's going on, but you have to boot in EFI mode. Okay, let's see what you got there.
Hey, it's back.
No, is that's Windows. In fact, on an older, this machine, when I added Linux to it, I kept the Windows, but it came with Windows in the old MS-DOS disk label. So I had to update the Windows and go in there and run a Windows command from the command line to convert it over to UEFI.
Wow.
And got the box to, and then I used the Windows utilities to edit the whole thing so that I had enough room for Linux.
Wow.
To retain the Windows on there too. You're just doing completely Windows, I take it. You're just going to blow the Windows off.
Yeah, that's one thing that is can be a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
There, that should be good right there. You see my mouse moving around? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Yeah, so set the icons to small icons and then find the green battery and go to power options. Then you want to go to the button that says choose what the power button does. This is one of the problems with Windows. The menu names make no sense. You click this, that's the only way to get into this menu. You have to click that button. And it's named under something completely weird. Change what the power buttons do. Anyway, once you're into here, you want to hit the button that says change settings that are currently unavailable. And then there's a little box that's ticked right here. You can't read it, but it says turn on fast startup. And we need to uncheck that. And then hit save changes. That way, when we shut this machine down, it'll actually fully shut down instead of leaving a bit of residual. I don't know what it leaves behind, but it'll leave something behind that.
Memory or whatever.
Yeah, leave something in the memory or something. And it'll mess up an install, or your install may work fine. And then you'll just have a weird issue, like some Wi-Fi adapter not working, and you go disable it and it works. It's weird. It's very weird, but that's something you kind of have to do. So once you've reached that, is there any files we need to last minute save off of this thing?
No, I don't need anything off of that.
All right.
Power forever hold your peace because
Yeah. All right, here we go. Last moments of Windows. We're gonna hit power and we're gonna hit
Uncle Bill.
bye-bye. We're gonna hit shut down.
Now you need me to hold down something?
Yeah, once you see if it's a Dell machine, if you see Dell on the screen, start spamming F2 or F12.
Oh, you gotta,
We're gonna have to enter the BIOS.
okay.
Oh boy, this is gonna be slow. So yeah, all we've done is just turn off fast startup so far. And saved anything we want off there. If you have a large external drive, like a USB drive for storage, that's a good way to get any files you want to save off the computer.
And make sure you disconnect the drive before you install.
Yeah. Because it does format it and your files will not be
You know,
there.
You can also install Linux on an external drive.
You could. I've done that before too.
I've done that too. You can boot, I've also installed it on flash drives and booted it up that way.
I've seen that too, where people make little computer like keys. They bring it with them everywhere and they can just plug it into anybody's computer and boot into their.
Works fine. We're booting to Linux. Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I need to make one of those sometime. I haven't been monitoring the YouTube chat. I need to check that. All right, there. Did we miss our chance? No.
F11, F12 is one of those.
Okay.
All right.
BIOS.
Now we're in the BIOS.
Yeah.
Now, this mostly only applies to newer machines as well. This BIOS, we probably won't be able to demonstrate it because this BIOS probably will not have the entry in here. But if you have a newer machine, a newer laptop, or a newer computer, it will have a setting in here called Secure Boot.
Yep.
Now, that sounds like a good thing that you would want on, but it does make it so that the installation for Linux might fail. I'm not sure why it affects it, but I think it does some kind of interchange with Windows while it's booting, and it will not like it if you try it. You probably won't even get past the startup screen of the installer if you don't disable Secure Boot. So this one probably won't have it because none of the other two computers we tried had it, and they were from the same time period. But yeah, so the way you get into this is you shut down the computer or you do a restart, and then while it's showing like the manufacturer logo, you should be able to push F12 or F2 or F9. It'll say on the screen what button to push to enter BIOS, but you want to hit one of those buttons real quick before it switches to the little Windows loading circle. And that's how you get into here. So you want, you'll want to scroll through the menus like this until you find an entry that says Secure Boot or Safe Boot or something like that. I don't know if this one has it. I doubt this one has it, but we needed to show this because most modern computers have this. It's probably not in here.
Guys, figure we'd make sure real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not there. There's
Oh, this one has a lot of settings. Oh, there. What does that say?
Fastboot.
Oh yeah, so that one, yeah, you can turn that off. Go ahead and turn that one off. We haven't tried re-enabling it, but I'm not sure if the BIOS Fastboot options need to be turned on or off, but we've done it for the past two computers just to make sure. We do need to experiment with that a little bit more and figure out if that's actually necessary.
Fastboot is off.
All right, so yeah, that should be all we need.
We got to change the boot up order.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. You can do that by pushing F2 usually, but that is another thing you need to do. You need to tell your BIOS to boot from the USB drive first. Most of them will have your main hard drive first, then the CD-ROM second, then USB third or something like that. But we need to change the boot order so that it always tries to boot from the USB device first. This won't really interfere with normal use. you have to boot up the computer with an installation media, the thing plugged in for it to happen. So yeah, he's just moving the USB entry up to the top of the list. And that's all there really is to it. You can also do it manually, but that's a little bit different for every computer. So this is just an easier way to do it. And there you want to reboot. And now you see the Dell logo, and it will not boot into Windows if we did it correct. So yeah, this blue bar being really slow, that's what happens when you disable Fastboot.
You know,
I'm not sure if you...
It didn't ask me if I wanted to save.
I think it saved just by...
Yeah, I guess it did.
In this particular one.
We'll know in about 6 seconds here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Uncle Bill comes back, you'll know that you didn't get.
Instead of the Windows logo, it's Bill Gates' face.
And I want to throw darts at it.
I'm sure you could find that online. Bill Gates' face dartboard.
You know what's funny is it seems to me like you take an old machine, like we redid a Vista machine, and we put it in there, and that machine now is just as fast as it was the first day it had Vista in it.
I'm not surprised.
You know, you can tell. It's just that's literally how it used to
You get
be.
rid of that OLED
It's
Windows.
working.
Okay, okay, you're coming up on Linux.
All right, so you're gonna see some text start going by, and it's gonna look like a hacker terminal for, depending on the speed of the computer, a few seconds or a minute.
Not to worry.
But you don't want to do anything during this. Just let it play past. Yep, there it goes.
Well, you're supposed to read all that. Make sure you read it.
Yeah.
Sure, you understand all that.
End user license agreement.
There'll
Yeah,
be a
there you
tab
go.
It's like, do you agree?
You got it?
Anybody that watches South Park knows you don't click OK on that. That's the worst episode they ever made. And that's saying a lot. That's all I got to say about that.
This is where Linux looks like HPUX booting up. That's the HP Unix.
Oh, really? Wow, that was quick.
Holy crap. It just, guys, we just installed an operating system.
Not yet.
Not quite. That's one thing.
No,
I feel like
actually,
they
you're
should've
right. We're booted into it now anyway. Well, we just booted into an operating system.
I should have mentioned that too earlier. When you put the thumb drive in, you're actually running the full operating system on the thumb drive.
Yeah.
So you can poke around. This is a perfect time to poke around and make sure your Wi-Fi, your sound, whatever other stuff you want to try. If this is your first time using Linux, I recommend spending a little while in the live operating system before installing it to make sure everything works. If there's some game-breaking, deal breaker of a problem, then at least you won't have overwritten Windows and you can go back. You can boot into this without overwriting anything and poke around as long as you want. And that is a very useful feature. So yeah, it'll ask you for your language. It's very standard questions. You want to do clean install if you're doing like something else, like you want to dual boot on the same hard drive. That's a little bit more advanced. You have to start partitioning stuff, but most people probably just want to do clean install.
Yeah,
And-
you can install this as a second operating system.
Yeah.
But
Numerous
know,
times.
whether we're recommending that or not, I don't know. But
My laptop is running dual boot. It's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
Windows 10 and Linux on it.
Yeah, you have to change the partitioning around, otherwise you got no place for it.
Yep.
yeah, because it has to like be on its own virtual drive, if you will. It has to think it's on its own drive.
Yeah,
Are
it's not-
you ready to me to go ahead and hit this?
Yeah.
That's why I was talking about UEFI and all that.
Yeah, that
Okay.
stuff is important.
We are installing.
Now no, we're not yet. This is another important step. Make sure that when this little window pops up, you select the correct drive. If your computer has more than one, make sure you select the correct one. Make sure you know the vendor of your drive, because if it's like a Western Digital, it'll say WDC on it. Make sure you know the capacity of the drive so you can make sure that it's the same capacity. Because if you select the wrong one, it'll overwrite everything on a drive. if you have 2 drives in your computer, you can move all your stuff onto that drive, reinstall on the main one, and all the stuff will still be on the secondary drive without formatting it.
You
But
bet
if you
on
accidentally
secondary
format it,
drive
then you're in
ones.
trouble. So yeah, make sure you have the right drive selected, because that will cause you a lot of problems.
That's right. But you can install Linux on the second drive and boot from that if you want.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you're just putting in a username and yeah, just
Because we have a lot of these computers, we're kind of picky about what we call them all.
yep.
Larry, Moe, and Curly.
Yeah.
It does it. The password requirement is mandatory. That's one thing you can't skip, is you do have to set up a password. Do not encrypt the drive unless you want it encrypted. Encrypting the drive makes it, whatever, more safe. But if you try and mess with that drive, if you try and reinstall Windows on it or anything else later, you might run into some serious issues because, yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing the encrypt drive thing unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And there we go. That's the installer right there. And there it goes. If at any point it looks like it's frozen, I've never had this freeze on me after installing it on, I don't know, maybe 5+ computers.
I will tell you, the Ubuntu box that I used for paying my bills and all that, that's encrypted. So yeah, it's interesting to do it. It can be a ticklish operation, but I've done it.
That's a good.
Complete with volume management.
Yeah, that's a good time when you could encrypt it. If you have just a standalone machine and you want to only put Linux on it and you don't really want to mess with it too much more, and you want it to be really safe, you don't want anybody to get into it, encrypting is good. But for the average user, I wouldn't recommend it because I've seen people have a lot of problems.
Cause you a lot. If you don't know what you're doing, it causes you a lot of grief.
I got to say one thing on here. The progress bar on Linux seems to be an actual bar of your progress.
Yeah.
On Windows, I find a lot of times the progress bar is just something so that you'll shut up and sit there while it's doing something. I hate when I sit there for 12 minutes and watch a progress bar only for it to get to the end and start over again.
Or it'll sit there and you're at 10% and all of a sudden, zing, you're at 100%.
Yeah. I like the ones that go from 0 to 90, like they go right to 90% and then they sit there for an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, who designed this thing?
Or one that goes to 99.99% and then says, an error has occurred.
Yeah, I bet.
And of course, the language that I use upon hearing and seeing that is not something we want to put on the air.
No, yeah. Most of the time, the actual installation finishes before that bar fully reaches the end.
Yeah, it's moving. It's going pretty good, actually. It shouldn't be too long. Let me see here. What do we got?
This kind of reminds me of the install in Linux Mint.
Does it? I never tried that one.
Yeah, you've never tried Linux. I like that one. I like Linux Mint. I've got another machine that's got it.
And I mean, you can see even on this machine, which is really old, and it's running a physical, like a plated hard drive, a Windows 10 install would take more than an hour to do this.
This will take 63%.
9 o'clock and go to bed.
Yeah, start it at night. Start it before you go to work and hope it does it all the way until when you get back.
It's saying it's at 75%.
I don't doubt it. That's probably right. The bar doesn't look like it's 75%, but
that may be 75% of putting.
Oh, it's 75% of that step. Yeah. It says extracting
that's
files.
what it is. It's got to do a few things after it extracts the files. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does configuration and all that.
I'd love to install this on a brand new computer and just with a solid state hard drive and just watch that bar just zip right across there.
Screen.
I did that on mine. I've got solid state drive in mine, and it's fast computer, and it took like the less than 30 seconds.
All right. Extracting files is at 100%.
Because it's only
Now-
like
It's
it's
now
only like
configuring the system at 35%.
there's a much less content in there than there is Windows installed. The file size is smaller.
Because it's 80% bloat.
Yeah,
Crap.
Windows is just full of junk.
It's NFL app.
Yeah. And the worst part is you uninstall the NFL app, like if it lets you do it, then you create a new user profile and the NFL app is back. So did it
Yep.
ever really uninstall it?
No,
No.
no.
NFL
No, well,
app,
it's like Cortana. You cannot get rid of it. You cannot turn it off. You can Control Alt Delete and get it right off your task manager, and it pops right back up again. There's nothing you can do except hide it, which means it's still running.
you need to take a nuclear device to your computer.
Siri better hope I don't meet him in a dark alley, and I say him because I don't beat up women. So
Just change the voice to the male voice.
there you go. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll change the voice to the male voice, and then beat its butt.
Or send it to
Oh, about move the mouse, the screen's timing out.
Oh no! It's saving our CRT screen, which we haven't had in a very long time.
Yeah, that's one thing I turn off pretty quick on Pop OS is the 5-minute screen timeout thing.
I'll tell you what, I turn off.
those.
I set all my power settings on Windows immediately to never, 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 never.
That's one of my pet beefs. It's
Yep.
timeouts. They drive me crazy.
Well, the days of screen burn are long gone.
Yeah.
There was a time when it was important that if you had a work screen and it always had the logo of your company in the upper corner, it was important to put a screensaver on there.
Yeah.
In 1993,
Yeah. Many, long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
well, and as fast as our solar system's moving away from the center of the galaxy, I mean, we're pretty much not near where we were then.
It's actually almost done. I think this is like one of the last steps on the installer.
Yeah, it says configuring the system, 70%.
Yep.
Oh, you guys, sometimes you can read it on the camera and sometimes you can't. That's why
I can't really read it on the camera.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had this all set up with a beautiful camera. It died. So I took my
Hey.
room camera that I had and set it up. It died. I got a third web camera that I have here, plugged it in. It would not configure. So I took my webcam and stretched the wire all the way across the room over to that screen. And I've got it stuck on there with a piece of Velcro I just put on there.
Yeah. Sometimes
So-
I like to shoot that damn Murphy, you know?
Yep. Yep. Ah.
But yeah, we can see just from the from this, I can see the little network Ethernet icon up there, which means that's working.
Yep.
So that's great. I've only had a internet issue on one computer before. I installed it on a Dell Inspiron laptop, and
Finishing.
oh, it's almost done. We installed it on the laptop, and the Wi-Fi and Ethernet were both broken, which means you can't download any driver. You had to
Ouch. No.
download it on another computer and copy it over. All right, we're done with the installation.
Continue setting up.
So now at this point, you want to hit restart, and while it's restarting, while it's showing like the Dell logo, you want to pull the thumb drive out. Otherwise, it'll just boot to the thumb drive again. Don't pull it out now while it's still shutting down. I mean, you can. It won't really hurt anything. But
Yeah.
so like now is when you should pull the thing out.
All right, it's out.
We probably re-enable Fastboot. I need to try that. I think it would probably work. This seems like some kind of, if you have Fastboot, I think what Fastboot does in the BIOS is it like checks the memory. Like it goes through and does like a memory check or something like that every time instead of skipping it. I think I read that somewhere. I'm not sure. Because normally this bit would be gone by now.
Yeah, it's taken a long time to get through this initial part right here, but like you said, I think we can probably turn that Fastboot back on.
Well,
we can,
the first time it boots, I think it takes more time too.
yeah.
Well, this is just the BIOS bit booting. This isn't it hasn't even gotten to the OS yet.
We're not. That's right. We're not.
Yeah, wait till you do the OS will probably actually, even though it is the first time and it's a little slower, it'll still load pretty quick.
Let's see if we got a boot thing here. Yeah.
Hello,
Oh.
Linux.
I see the gray screen. As long as you don't see a blinking cursor on a black screen, you're good. If you see the blinking cursor, that would be a problem.
It may be. Uh-oh.
Just give it a second. It'll just pop in all of a sudden. That's what it
It'll
does on
just
these
come
older
up with
computers.
GUI. Some of them will boot up with, well, that's this. I'm not familiar with this particular distro. Some of them will show the ordinary kernel messages.
Yeah. And everybody keep in mind, this is on an older system. So if you install anything modern, you're not going to have to sit at a black screen for 30 seconds. It'll just pop right in instantly.
Yeah, and the kernel in the distro is different than a kernel in a distro. Just so you know.
A beefstro?
Yeah.
Oh, there's the cursor. I see it.
It's not blinking.
No, if you see like a blinking terminal cursor, like the type here kind of thing. Hey.
It made it.
Hello, Linux. Welcome
There you
to your
go.
new home. This is your new home, experimental computer number 3.
Number 3.
Username. Oh, I gotta type all that in.
Yep.
Well, we can disable that. We can turn on auto login. There's the auto login thing.
Best practice in the world, but whatever.
It wants the password. You click the wrong button. It says username, but you got to click the back button and then click. There you go. You click that thing.
Oh, I see. All right, never mind.
There you
Okay.
go. Because I think you can have like hidden profiles. You have to actually type the name in to find it.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. I should have just hit where you type.
Yeah, you got to build all your dot profile and all that crap. Ta-da.
Hey.
Hey.
Bling. There's your dock down below.
Yep, there's our dock. And there it is. It actually worked.
Welcome.
Now, I got to tell you, folks, this is 3 of them I've personally done without a hitch.
Yeah. This is kind of like Mint does this too.
Oh yeah, and Ian was saying how he thinks he's waiting. You know, he says he thinks it's waiting for like it's waiting to load or something, but it's actually loaded 5 minutes ago, and he just expects it to take longer.
Oh, well, and here's why. Look where the next button is. It's in the upper right corner.
Yeah, they could have done.
You
better
don't
with that.
put next buttons in the upper right corner. I sat here for 10 minutes and he goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm waiting for it to load." He says, "It's been ready since it popped up. You just have to hit the next button up in the corner."
Yeah, hopefully they'll figure that out.
But I didn't let that taint what I feel about Linux. All right, there we go. And then let's say that we're in Cameroon. Oh, hey, there we go. Let's do that one.
Keyboard
And
layout.
that one.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the dock. It lets you choose how you want your dock to look right at the start, which is pretty cool. Configure top bar. I don't know. Probably
Yeah,
that
if you
default.
want your time on the left or right, you can do that here. I'll just leave it in the center for now. I'm leaving the experimental computer so you guys know fairly basic, so that when people sign in, it's not too wacky.
That's just telling you how to use it. That's not asking you any questions. That's showing you how to use. Yeah. That's the only privacy question in there is, do you want location services?
Yeah.
Time zone.
And this, you don't have, I was doing it the hard way. Just click where you're at. It's easier. I was trying to type in New York, Eastern time
Yeah,
zone. And just click where you're at. It just click. And here's where you would connect your accounts, which we're not going to do right now. All done. Start using Pop OS. And there we go. That's it, guys. It's ready to go. You can now go right there to pull up Firefox, download WJSTX, and you could be on FT8 within about 15 minutes. Provided that there's no sound card issue or anything like that, which if it's a newer sound card, it's probably fine.
We have had an issue on one of the computers with the sound card not showing up, but that's an older computer, so it's an exception. And those USB sound cards you get from Amazon, those are all universally supported. Those are all universal plug and play. So if you have a really old computer and you want the sound, get one of those and it'll guarantee you it'll work.
And there you
Like
go.
that's what I'm
It's
using
website.
here.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. There's our TechNet website. See how quick that was? We put a new OS on and it's already showing us the web page on an old computer. That would have taken forever on Windows 10.
And I like this because this kind of reminds me of Android a little bit, but it's got like a program button. It's kind of like, that's all my programs right there. I think you can still put icons on the desktop too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, it does pretty much what Windows does as far as your environment. But I kind of like not cluttering my desktop up and just using this button.
Yeah, and you can put more stuff down in the dock if you want, any extra programs. If you push that button there, you can actually type in the name of the program and it'll live search it and bring it right up. I really like that when I'm doing stuff quickly.
Do you want to go back to your screen so you can give us a quick tour?
Sure.
Let's do that because that's the cleanest I can get this. So I'll let this go and you can take it back. Okay.
All right. First of all, I apologize that everything is so small. I have a large computer screen here and it's a really high resolution. So the icons and stuff are going to be smaller just so it scales properly. But hopefully y'all can still see it. Here's my little menus over here. Oh, hold on. The zoom thing is covering up the Can I hide that somehow? Can I minimize it?
Yeah, just get it as close off the screen
down
there.
Yeah. Here's my little control panel. I can change my headphone volume here, select the device I want. The VPN is off. I don't know why. I have a VPN. You can put VPNs on here. It's built into the operating system. I think Windows can do that too, but putting the VPN on was pretty easy. Here's all my, one cool thing is my UPS. I got a UPS for when the power goes out, and it actually, I plugged it in with USB cable and it showed up natively in this control panel as a normal battery. So it says fully charged here, and I can go into settings and I can actually see the battery percentage of the device, which is pretty crazy. That does not happen on Windows.
Windows, you'll have to, they'll have a disk come with them and you have to look.
Yep, they gave me a disc. Also, I can download it online, but it was plug and play, which is pretty. I was not expecting that.
What kind of UPS do you have?
It's a CyberPower UPS.
Yeah,
it's the brand behind it.
Yeah.
The CyberPower also makes a Linux command line tool for it, and it can tell you stuff like when the last power outage was and what the reason for the power outage was. That's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, here's my dock down here. I have it so the sides don't show, and I also have it so that the dock goes away when there's a full screen application. So if I go full screen, there's no dock, but if I put my mouse down here, the dock pops up, which is pretty cool. This is the settings menu. It's very concise. You just have a list of things on the left to choose from. You go through each one here. Here's my Bluetooth. Here's the desktop configuration. I can change the buttons that do stuff. I can change the desktop background. Yeah, I can put it into light mode if I want. I like dark mode for most of my stuff, but I can put it in light mode. I can customize the dock a lot more here. There's a bunch more options for that. I can make it show up on like the side of the screen or even the top of the screen, I think. Workspaces are another cool thing that was added to Windows recently, but have been in Linux since the very beginning. I can have a window open here. I can open Workspaces and I can go to a second virtual desktop. And now I can say open my folder, my browser here. I can do a bunch of stuff in this one, switch to the other desktop, and now it's got my other window up. So that's kind of cool. Sometimes I'll have like server terminal windows running over here, and I'll just, so I don't have to look at them, I'll just switch to a different desktop.
That's cool.
It is cool. It's very useful. Windows has that feature now, but it didn't for a while. Notifications. This is another cool thing that's similar to Android. You can actually go in for each application and turn off notifications. That's a really cool feature. You can turn on Do Not Disturb, turn on lock screen notifications. I actually want that on. Here's a list of your applications. You can change settings for these, change default applications, stuff like that. So there's a bunch of stuff here. There's another basic one is a sound control panel. Choose your outputs, choose your inputs here. It's like my microphone. I can change the volume. The display menu, I can change the resolution, refresh rate, stuff like that. It even works with printers. The house printer, the networked printer, detected immediately. When I installed this operating system the first time, the moment my desktop showed up, it was like, boop, here's your printer ready to go. Windows sometimes doesn't even detect printers connected to the network, even if they're literally sitting right next to it. This pulled it up immediately, and that was really cool, man. I really like that.
That's awesome.
Remove media. This is just like, what do you want it to do by default? So there's a bunch of stuff here. Here's your this is your update thing. It's just one menu entry, OS upgrade and recovery. And if there's an update available, it'll show, it says I'm running the latest version right now, but it'll show an update here. And that's about it. There's, of course, other stuff. You can change the computer name here. By default, the computer name is always pop-os, and it'll show up like that in your network. But I always change mine to have an actual name just so I can tell them apart. So yeah, the settings are very easy to use. Everything's here. Everything you need is here. It's great. It's so nice. The application launcher is great. Looks a little bit choppy on the stream there, but it's very smooth for me. You can even put little groups in here, little folders with stuff in them. So that's really cool. System applications. You can do other stuff here like system monitor. This is basically task manager. You can right click, end, kill, stop tasks. Pretty much just task manager from Windows, but in Linux, which is very useful because sometimes you have something you need to shut down. And that's how you do it right there. And of course, there's desktop icons. You can put stuff here. Something I do want to show that I think is really cool. There's a folder in the home area here called templates. All right. This is something you cannot do on Windows and is like the coolest thing ever. So by default, when you right click any folder, you have the option to create a new folder, right? You can create a new folder. But if you want to create a text document, well, that entry isn't there. So you go into the templates folder, and anything you put in here will show up in the context menu. So for example, if I take this, I don't know if this will work. I'm going to take the Steam, little Steam icon here. And now when I right click, it lets me create a new Steam shortcut. So anything you put in here, you can add to the context menu. So I just put a text file in here and called it new text document. And now when I right click, I can create a new text document. So that is a really, really cool feature. I just think it's the coolest thing ever. So yeah, that's one cool thing. This folder structure is the same as Windows. You have your desktop folder, you have your documents, downloads, music, pictures, videos, trash folder. Everything is already here. It actually has built-in Google Drive integration. So if you do that sign-in menu we saw at the start of the installation and you add your Google account, this is my Google Drive just showing up in the native file browser without having to install anything. And it's really cool. And the same thing for SSH stuff. Right now, the Pi is actually offline. But if you, yeah, it's going to fail to connect here if I try and connect to it. But if you go to other locations, you type in the IP address of the Raspberry Pi and hit connect, and then you're SSH'd into the thing. On Windows, you actually have to download a program called WinSCP, which we actually showed in a previous TechNet.
Yeah.
But that's built in here. So that is another really handy thing if you're doing Pi stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all the things. I've got a little network traffic monitor here. So if I'm downloading something, I can see how fast it's downloading and whatnot. I've got my little tabs up here. It's really similar to Windows in a lot of it, but it's very intuitive and very easy to use. So
it's very right-click friendly. There's right-click menus for nearly everything.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to show, and that's going to be for our airplane tracking. You can right-click in a folder and just hit open in terminal, and now your terminal is already open and it's already navigated to the folder that you're in, which you can do that on Windows. I think if you hold down Control, you can do open PowerShell window here or something like that. But so yeah, that's a cool thing. I don't think KDE might have the open in terminal thing. I'm not sure, but so yeah, that is that's kind of the basics of the interface. The terminal looks like this. You can type all the stuff you want in here.
Terminal is akin to command prompt, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can do multiple tabs too. Like I can run stuff in here. What I would do with the Goes tools thing, I would have the Goes receive running here and Goes proc running here. So I could have everything in one window.
You should be able to run more than one terminal at the same time.
Oh yeah, you can open up Move. If you just do a new window, you can have as many, you can have as many as you want. So yeah, that's the basics of it. It's really, really cool. Even your ejectable storage shows up here in the little dock, which is really cool. So
looks like you got Team Viewer on there.
Yep, Team Viewer. I was connecting to that PC3. Team Viewer works fine on here. AnyDesk works fine.
Yeah.
OBS works fine on here. That's what I'm using right now for my webcam.
Let's see what else
So yeah, even this program, which is actually a remote camera, it's a proprietary piece of software. This is the a Windows only application, but I have it running flawlessly. You can't even tell that it's not like what it's supposed to be. It's dark because it's nighttime over there, but so yeah, it works so well. Everything just works great, and I just love it.
Very nice.
Hold on, wait. I don't know if we just do this in another TechNet or not, but by default, it won't run Windows applications. You do have to install Wine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Rick knows about that.
Yeah.
But that one you kind of want to do. It takes a couple steps. I don't know if I should show it right now or not. We gotta move on to our airplane tracking. We used up a lot of time on this Linux thing.
Yeah, it did go a little long, but the airplane tracking is pretty straightforward. But I do want to get to it.
Yeah. I'll just say it. You have to install a program called Wine on your computer to run Windows applications. It's pretty easy to install. If you go to just search Wine in Google. Here's the main website. You go in here, download and install the latest Wine. Ubuntu, it says right here. You open up your terminal window. And you just start copying. You copy this, paste it in. Copy this, paste it in, and hit enter. Copy this, paste it in, and hit enter. And then right here it says, since the latest version is 21.04, you copy this one, paste it in. Copy this one, paste it in. Same thing for these. You decide if you want stable development or whatever. Copy that, paste it in, and you're ready to go. I think actually, yep, that's it. That's all you got to do. It's just like 5
So
commands.
it's basically just a list of commands there you put in your own command bar or whatever what is it called?
Terminal.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just copy, Control-Shift-V, paste, run the command, and you're done. And you don't even have to reboot. Like the next time you navigate to a folder where there's an exe file in there, it'll just be like, oh, do you want to? You can just double click it, and it works. I don't know if I don't have any exe files here to demonstrate. SDR Sharp. There you go. That's one. It does work. It's just a bit laggy. But that's an exe file. Oh, I haven't installed the .NET framework. I don't want to do that right now. So yeah, now the icon shows and I can double click it and it runs. So It's as simple as that. That's how you run Windows programs on a Linux machine. And with that, I think we're pretty much done with this. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, that's okay. Otherwise, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here.
All right. Any questions, anyone? Any questions on the Linux thing? Okay, well,
pretty good job.
we either did a good job or you put him to sleep. I don't know which, but
Probably a little bit of both.
we'll just assume it was the beginning anyway, the first of the two. All right, so we're all set. We now have a new Linux experimental machine here that we're going to be playing with, so that's going to be fun. Just so you give you guys just 2 minutes here to tell you real quick, and then we're going to switch directly over to the airplane tracking because that's really cool stuff. We are setting up a series of computers here at my shack and also at some other locations coming up. And they're experimental systems that are going to be hooked up to different things. And then different members will be given access to different computers to do different experiments and to run different things and to keep things going. And it's going to be a really cool thing. It's something we've been working on. We right now have 7 experimental computers, 6 of which are all set to go and running and are up. And we've got SDR sharps connected to some. We're going to be doing SSTV with one. We're going to be doing some other stuff. So they do all different things. And this is all part of what we're doing with the tech team, is creating a base of computers where we can all do experimentation and things like that, and radios and stuff. So, okay, I just wanted to explain what all that was about. And that was number 3 that we just converted from a Windows machine over to a Linux machine. We've already converted 4 and 6. And 5 and 5, 1, and 2 we're going to keep as they are for right now because they're already running stuff on Windows. It's working. So we may switch one more over eventually, but we'll talk about that. All right, so that's pretty much that. The next thing we're going to talk about is a really cool thing, and I got to tell you, we've done the thing with the satellites, and we've done a bunch of other ones. This one's really cool, but I got to tell you, the neatest thing about this one is it's probably, honestly, the easiest one of all these to set up that we've done so far. And I think that's probably what I like about this one. This is one you could set up right now and probably have it running by the end of the net tonight at your home. We're going to talk about tracking planes from the shack tonight with your SDR dongle. If you have a dongle and a computer and some crappy 2-meter antenna that you can hook it up to, this will work for you. Okay. Now, obviously the right antenna will be better. All right, Joseph, do you want to go through the hardware we're going to need?
Sure. All right. You need a computer, Windows or Linux will work. The program works on both operating systems, which is pretty good. An SDR dongle. So we've had TechNets in the past about that. You just need a basic RTL SDR. Any one of those should work fine. The antenna. If you want to make an antenna for this, you want to tune it to about about 1 gigahertz. And you can make those. There's some pictures of those here in a minute. But nearly any antenna will get some signals. I actually was very impressed by how well some lossy feed line. I have like 75 feet of lossy feed line connected to a 2-meter antenna in the attic, and I can still get tons and tons of airplanes. So apparently their signals are pretty strong because they're in the air and there's no obstacles or anything. So if you want to try it, if you want to make like a serious setup, then yeah, make an antenna with some low loss feed line at a short length. But if you want to try it right now, any old antenna will do. So that's pretty cool about that. Those are the things you need right there. Those 4 things. Pretty easy to come by. Most people probably have it. The software you need. The software that actually interfaces with the dongle and tracks the planes is called Dump 1090. 1090 being the frequency, actually. And that's on GitHub. If you search Dump 1090, the first thing that comes up should be the GitHub page. If not, there's the URL there. I can also paste it in the chat because I actually have it pulled up right now. So there's your GitHub link. And another program, if you're on Windows, that's actually pretty cool, is called Virtual Radar Server. And this just gives you a little bit upgraded interface for viewing the planes on a map. That is Windows only, though. So if you know how to program and tinker, you can get it work on Linux. Apparently, they support it, but I couldn't get it to work. So Those are the main two things you need. You only really need
If
dump
Joseph
1090.
couldn't get it to work, I wouldn't bother.
Well, there's a lot I don't know about that sort of thing, trying to troubleshoot programs. But anyway, yeah, dump 1090, virtual radar server. Those are the main
So
two.
you need both these to do this?
No, you only need dump 1090.
Okay.
We left the two slots down there that just say description website.
Guys, it was a little hasty this week. I'm sorry. There it is. Okay. Here's some examples of of a little dipole antenna you can build.
Ground plane.
A ground plane. Yes. God,
Look how cute
yes.
that is.
Yeah, that is cute.
Little
It's cute.
It's like the one in my attic, except it's a little baby one. Because the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength. So you tune it. Same design though. Pretty cool. Very easy to make. But that one in the middle there has a
My first
type N
two
connector on it. That's pretty cool.
Cook Wanger wire ground plane. It worked
There you
good.
go.
Yeah, that's.
Up in
I
the
mean,
tree.
if you think about it, I mean that's pretty easy to build. This little piece here, you get that just like that. You're just putting 5 things on it, and you're done.
Yeah.
Here's some more fancy ones for those of you out there that are just never ever happy with the basic crap like me. There's one there. That one. This one right here. It's like a 40 element or something. That's for like if you want to pick up planes in Australia or something. I don't know what that's for. Or maybe SETI Alpha 5. I'm not sure, but
Hey,
yeah. But anyway, there you go. And notice this one here is reminiscent of a TV antenna,
yeah.
but like a bow tie. This is a great little one that they built inside a weather box that you can just put together, and now it's all protected from the weather. So just some neat ones out there. There's one down here at the bottom they built out of one of those plugs like those other ones you saw, but it's got a different configuration.
It's a folded dipole.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options there for you to build the antenna.
This is just a quick rundown for getting it to work on Windows. You go to the GitHub. In the GitHub, you scroll down right into about the middle because there's like a list of files. When you go to the main page, it'll give you all the files. You want to find the one that says dump109-win.zip. Download that, unzip the file, and inside of there, run dump1090.bat. Now, make sure you've done your Zadig and just make sure SDR Sharp works with the dongle. So make sure the driver's installed, basically. Make sure Zadig is there. And if you do it and you notice that it fails to start and you see it shows 2 devices available, one with a garbled name, go back into Zadig, find the dongle. Go into Device Manager on Windows, find the dongle in there and hit Remove Device and tell it to delete all software for this device. Click that, or not, click the checkbox that says delete driver for this device, and then go back into Zadig and find it again. It should be listed as like RTL something inside of Zadig, and then reinstall the driver on top of it. That we had that happen on one of the computers, and that's what fixed it, was going into Device Manager and deleting it and uninstalling it and reinstalling it using Zadig.
And if you guys have trouble with this step right here, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this tonight because we've already done this in a previous TechNet just 4 or 5 weeks ago. So just Google SWFL TechNet and then put SDR Sharp with a little sharp sign, and it should come up in a YouTube search, and you'll be able to go back and watch us go in depth on how to, because these SDR dongles, the one thing I don't like about the STR RTL is there's a little trick to installing it. It's just, it's not plug and play. All right.
Yeah.
Are we done here?
Well, no.
Okay.
One last thing. So once it's running, you should see it switch to a little square menu, and you'll see airplane call signs actually start to populate in a list. And when you see that, then it's working.
We'll show that in just a second.
We will show that, yeah. Open up your web browser and just go to the localhost address with a port of 8080. So that's going to look like http://127.0.0.1. That's the localhost address. :8080. That's all you need to put into your browser to
Well, isn't there a link right there for that?
Yeah.
There's not in the if you're running virtual radar server, you can click it. But if you're doing it without virtual, this is without virtual radar server.
Okay, I get it. I understand.
Optionally, you can install virtual radar server, which is very straightforward. We don't need to go through that. And when it's running, it actually automatically interfaces with dump 1090. So all you got to do is run dump 1090, then run virtual radar server, and there's actually a button in there that opens the browser for you. So it's very easy. So that's all there is to it on Windows. On Linux, you go to the I think you can go to the same GitHub. I put a different link in here. It looks like I did. Yeah. That one might be, I don't know why that one's different. They should both work the same. But the only difference is you're going to click the little green code button in the top right or middle right of the main screen and choose download a zip. Unzip it, go into the folder, click open terminal here like I showed earlier. And then you're going to type // which is how you like run a, it's like a Linux executable. It's the version of an exe file. You'll just type / dump 1090, and then you'll do --net --interactive. That's if you don't do interactive, the little thing will look different. It won't be a list of call signs. It'll be a different style of menu, which is not, it doesn't work right. And --net is what tells it to host a web page for you to view the airplanes on. And then you just go to the same address like you would on Windows, the local host address 127.0.0.1 with a port of 8080. And that's all there is to it for that. It's pretty
Here's
easy to
a
get
question
ready.
for you. Since you're showing me a HTTP address, you should be able to go to another machine and access it using http:// the IP address of that machine and import 8080. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're doing on Linux, also make sure you've got your RTL SDR drivers up and running. Otherwise, it won't find any devices. But we did that in a previous TechNet. So,
And this all, remember, guys, the Windows installation for this is real simple. The Linux installation is not that bad at all. And you can go back and get this tomorrow, whenever you decide to do it. Just go back and watch this section again. We're a couple hours in here. All right, we done with this one?
yep,
All right.
the live demonstration. All right, what machine? How do we want to do this?
Just dial in the number 5 and then capture your screen.
Okay.
And I'll get out of this.
Oh, look at that. It's already set up. Perfect.
Yep, it's running. And now you guys get to see what it looks like. There it is. The
All right.
information you see there with those planes is not coming from the internet. It's coming from a van, an antenna that I took off my van and threw up on the roof of my shack.
Yep, he's got a mag mount and it's
A
working.
little
fine.
2-meter mag mount that I stuck up there. Now, if I had the right antenna, I'd probably get 20 more planes on there.
Yeah.
I
So
wish I'd done this when I was in Atlanta.
yeah, I've done it on an actual plane. I had my laptop and a dongle with me, and I tracked my location from inside the plane. That was
There
pretty
you go.
Let you do that. Oh, wow.
cool. So this is the zip file you will download from the GitHub. You run this .bat right here. If your drivers for the dongle are working, this is what you'll get. You'll get some call signs, flight numbers, altitudes, stuff. All that is listed here. Here is virtual radar server. This is what it looks like as soon as you start it up. It automatically interfaces, and you'll just click this blue button right here. You can also tell it to show you a network address. So this is the link you would use from another computer on the same network. Or you can show the internet address, which would show the external IP of your router on there. And you can use that. If you port forward port 8080, you use that IP address and you can connect from anywhere in the world. So
So you can actually have a receiver in one state, and you can go to another state and receive the data from your server and put it right on a screen on down in your shack in another place. It's really cool.
As you port forward it, should be a bit.
Yep.
Yep, port forward it, and it'll work fine. I've done this before. It's pretty cool. So there's that. That's the interfaces, but let's show the actual part here. So this is what you'll get when when you go to that little web page with virtual radar server. If you're not running virtual radar and you're on Linux, it looks pretty much identical to this. The only difference being that it doesn't show a picture of the airplane. And so the information is all still there. It's just not as detailed. It doesn't look up the airplane for you.
If
So
you want, here, let me see it for just a second. If you want, I moved this over. This is what it actually looks like when you first get it out of the box. I had it moved over a little bit. That's why it looked a little weird.
okay.
But you normally get like 2 pictures of the plane. There's actually a plane photograph service.
Hey, you can see
Who'd have thunk it, you know?
Yeah, really.
look on different ones here. We can see pictures of the plane. It's pretty cool. It's really handy to have this. You can kind of tell what kind of little propeller plane.
Yeah. The lines I believe are showing you altitude. Like the green is down close to the ground. The blue is in a mid-level, and then your purples are at the higher levels. Those purple ones are flying way over us, way up high. The blue is on final to RSW. That's why they're showing much lower.
Yeah, we can watch this plane land.
Yep. If you watch this one, and remember, guys, this is coming from an antenna on the roof. Yeah, it's going to disappear because I'm not on a tower.
Yeah, it's dropping down below the horizon.
If I had my tower up, if I had an antenna up, now I'll tell you something else that's weird. If you use an antenna that has real tight lobes, or an antenna that works really well, it's not going to do as well on this. I'll tell you something else that's weird. I hooked up my long wire and it didn't do well at all. Yeah. So the shorter the antenna, the better. A UHF would probably work better than a VHF, literally. So
was 1090 megahertz.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so you really need a little dinky antenna that's just a few inches long. Yeah, there's one. He just took off.
Plane's coming right over your house.
Yep, it's about to go right over my house. It came out of regional, and you can see that it's at 11,000 feet. You
can see it was white, and then blue, and then darker blue, and then you can see it taking off. There it goes.
See his vertical speed? Can you guys see all that there on the right? His vertical speed is 3,100 foot per minute upward, and his speed is 399 miles an hour. His heading is 24 degrees azimuth. His distance is 1.18 miles. I think
from you. From me. That's from
Look,
you.
He's about to go right over my house. 58.49, 0.33. How close is he going to get?
Wow. Yep. There he goes.
He went right over my house. I'm right there near Slater and Del Prado right there. So they went right over my house. But what's neat about this, guys, is the sheriff's department choppers come up, the med flights come up.
Yeah.
The mosquito control. I watched a mosquito control plane earlier today run laps all up and down, running tracks, spraying last night, actually. He laid a bunch of spray in North Fort Myers. You can see him going back and forth, back and forth. When the sheriff's department's up doing their, you'll see something just flying around in circles. That's the sheriff's department. Pull up your scanner because he's watching something. There's a lot of private planes you'll see. There's one service that flies at Sierra Delta or something. It flies out every day, about every hour. Another plane will take off and it flies up and down the coast and then comes back and lands at Page again. And I know that's got to be a sightseeing service of some kind or whatever. But it's really cool because you can see so many different things from this. And of course, this will work if the internet's out. It's just like the 2 different satellites that you can receive, the geosynchronous and the polar orbit. Those work when the internet's out. This works when the internet out. The whole cool thing about this, all this stuff we're showing you works with or without the internet. And it's just one more thing that you'll have that nobody else will when that internet goes down. But anyway.
I especially like the ability to see unlisted vehicles or unlisted aircraft like police helicopters, because every now and then something real low will come flying over the neighborhood, especially at night, and it's like, what is that? Why is there nothing showing up on the flight tracker website? Power this up and it's like, oh, that tail number is registered to the Fort Myers Police Department. Oh, they're looking for somebody. So yeah, I think that's what you can see. Military stuff on here too. I think most military traffic is hidden from a lot of the public websites.
That green one might be Yeah, that's private. That's a Piper PA-28 161 Warrior 2, and it's at 5,000 feet, and he's descending right now. He's at
I might have lost him.
111 miles an hour. Yeah, I think I just lost him because he's too low. You know what else is cool about this? You can actually you actually can study propagation with this too. You know, Joseph and I were talking about this the other night, but all the same propagation, even though it's a different a different band, a much higher band, a lot of the same propagation rules all work. And I'll notice, like, I get planes on the other side of Lake Okeechobee. I get planes over there all the time, but once they get north or south of the lake, I lose them. Why is that? Because the signal travels a lot easier over the lake, and it gives me a little more distance. So, you know, it's little things like that you notice, the propagation. So really cool stuff.
We've actually got one from across the country right now. Spirit Airlines. Yep. There's another one over.
Once he gets north or south of the lake, you probably won't see him anymore because I need that little bit of help I get off the lake.
I see. He just disappeared. Yep.
Yeah. See, I mean, I only get them when they're on the other side of the lake. That's a propagation thing. It's got to be.
But yeah, if we have this on a proper antenna up on a little tower, you'll get like see I don't know if y'all can see these circles here that are kind of very transparent, but you'll get planes this far away. Like you'll get all the planes down here, which is just really cool because you can see all the flights coming in and out.
Miami, you've seen quite a lot then.
Well, and I will tell you, it's not doing too well tonight because the other night when him and I were looking at this, we were seeing planes coming out of Tampa.
Yeah.
As soon as they got up around 6,000 or 8,000 feet, we'd start picking. Well, about 10,000 feet, we'd start picking them up just south of Tampa, right around Ruskin. And then a couple nights ago, I was watching this. No, it was in the middle of the day. I was watching this, and I was getting them. I was getting a lot right around Tampa, quite a bit. But what's funny is I'm not getting much out of Miami. So once again, I'm propagating. It's on the north pitch of my roof on my shack. I bet if I went up there and tossed it over to the south pitch of the roof, I would probably get the Miami planes and not the Tampa ones. Who knows? I mean, that's what I said. It's kind of cool because I'm playing with propagation, which is what we all love to do. So there's another plane on the other side of the lake. It won't stay there long, though.
Oh, one just popped in by Bradenton.
Yeah.
This one, United.
See, that's 159. That transmitter is getting all the way to my wrong frequency antenna, 159 miles away.
Wow.
So if I had the right frequency antenna up 20 feet instead of 12, I probably would be getting, like I said, 3 or 4 times as many planes.
Yeah.
This makes me want to put up a proper.
Well, would you believe I've already decided I'm building that antenna this weekend? I was going to do it this week, but I ran out of time. Oh. So I've got a lot of editing to do this weekend, but I've already promised myself if I get a couple more of them files done tomorrow, I'm going to build that antenna. And I'm going to go out and put it on the side of one of my non-conductive masts, get it up about 20, 25 feet.
What kind of antenna you going to build?
I'm going to build that little ground plane. I'm just going to build one of them little ground planes, I think. Yeah. Well, this is one of this. You know me, I love fancy antennas, but this isn't something where you really need a fancy antenna.
It's like this kind of like the weather satellites. You don't want a fancy,
right? Because the better your antenna is, the more focused the lobes are, and this is something you want to truly be omnidirectional and not just omni on the horizon, but omni everywhere. 360, yeah, completely. So
also, I think those quarter wave antennas, I may be wrong about this, but I believe that they are slightly biased towards facing upwards with their reception and radiation. In terms of their radiation pattern, I think it goes upwards ever so slightly, which will help a lot for this kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the ground plane like that, like it's probably what you're referring to. It doesn't have a tight lobe at all. So it's receiving from pretty much everywhere, above it, beside it. So yeah, it works. I think that's going to work. I'm a little disappointed. This is not picking up near the amount of planes it was picking up the other night. I don't understand why
That
it's
plane used to come out of Bradenton.
I don't know. They pop in and out.
I know, but it doesn't seem, it's a little late too. That's another thing. It's 10.
There's not as many flights right now.
Yeah, it's
You can-
10:30 at night. and
you can even
that's
see the
probably
route
exactly
on
why.
It would have been on.
Yeah.
Tells you the route.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one has a logged route. Now that information, guys, does come from the internet. You realize that all the stuff where it says altitude, speed, distance, and by the way, you can actually get barometric pressure from a lot of the planes too. All this information is all from the plane, but then the pictures and the flight plan and all that stuff comes from the internet. It resources it, just like when you make a contact and it resources it with QRZ.
Yeah.
Boeing parcel service. Wow. Look at that.
UPS.
What package is coming?
I wonder if my package is on that plane.
Plane over the lake.
I always pick them up over the lake. No problem there. Boy, it is dead tonight. There's normally a lot more planes even on this system.
You know, it's a Friday. I would think we'd have a couple extra people flying in for the weekend, but
More planes than you're getting now.
there are a lot of planes landing at RSW. You just can't see them because they're below the. As soon as they reach,
Yeah. I'm going to show you this. I found this the other day. I was in here messing around, and under menu here, was it menu? Wait a minute. Where was it? Hold on. Oh no, it's map layers. This one here is the rings around the airports. You can turn it up. It's a little glitchy, but you can turn it up to where you can see the rings.
Yeah. that's
See,
what
it shows the rings around the airports. It also shows like flight hazard areas and things like that. But it also clutters your map up really bad. So that's why I turn it down to where it's like a shadow in the background. But that shows you all your airports and your flight, your whatever they call it, exclusion zones, I think they call it, and things like that. The big ones are, of course, your international airports and on down. The Miami airport's got a huge exclusion zone around it. And those little ones you see, they look like a circle with a line through it, all different. Those are all private airports, folks.
Gee,
There's a lot more of them than you think there is.
that's how we get the drugs in.
Now they just throw them out over wherever.
Yeah.
That's where technology's come. They're still throwing bales out of planes, but now they got a GPS transponder on them. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, we thought GPS is going to be a military system, and it turns out being used for all kinds of things.
Yep. See, I just turned this down to where it's like a shadow, like that. And that way I can still see it if I look for it. But it's not intrusive. You can set this thing to auto select the closest plane, or auto select the furthest away plane, or auto select the highest plane. Or I saw all that yesterday, and I had mine set on show me the facts on the closest plane. I think that's in. You might know where it is, Joseph.
Map. Maybe. Auto select aircraft. Select
Yeah, there we
closest
go.
to. Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
see, I've got it set for closest plane, and then you can also
think-
set it for different things, and you can turn that auto select on or off. So
Now most this menu settings here and the track and everything, that's all virtual radar server doing that. The default dump 1090 doesn't have it. Dump 1090, it gives you a pretty basic interface. It just gives you a map, plane icons, and tail numbers. That's pretty much all it gives you. It doesn't give you a track or that much information on it. I'm still looking for a way to get this working on Linux, and if I find it, I'll put it in one of the next tech nets. But
Virtual Radar is a Windows application then. Isn't that
yes,
right?
Yeah.
they
All right.
claim that it can run on Linux, and I followed their instructions, but it didn't work for me. So,
Well,
but if
what
I find
about-
out how to make it work, I'll put it in here.
Can you run the dump 1090 on a Raspberry Pi and then go over the network and run virtual radars on Windows machine?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
In fact, a Raspberry Pi, actually, they have this, I think it's an entire pre-made image, but they have this thing called Pi Aware, and it's got dump 1090 and the radar server all pre-installed on it, and you can plug it in, and people do this. They set these up so that they can be like a feeder for public websites. But there's already like if you're doing it on a Pi, it's actually, there's some pretty cool stuff you can do with it.
The only thing so far that I don't like about virtual server, and I'm going to be honest with you, this virtual, whatever it is, virtual radar, is they don't have a night map. You can turn the brightness of the map down, but that doesn't seem to help. So I'm hoping that maybe I can find a way at some point to maybe download a different base map or something and stick it in there. Or I don't know, but
It'd be kind of like my old Garmin GPS. It would I'd have that in the car and it would get dark and all of a sudden that thing would flip into night mode.
Yep. Yeah, and that I don't know. I know Joseph's kind of the same way. I just like everything in night mode because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have like 20 screens in here, and I'm being irradiated in so much blue light that I probably got babies with 5 legs. Or probably the good news is I probably ain't got a sperm that's still swimming, so it doesn't matter because of all the radiation in here. I mean, if you look at the amount of radiation I have in it with HF, plus all the screens, plus all the different frequencies of all the different light and sound, and oh my gosh, it's crazy if you think about it. So anyway, the long story short there is I try to make all my screens as dark as I can. I keep the screen brightness down as much as I can, and not too far though, because that's a strain on your eyes too. But the big thing with me is I also use blue filters. Some of my screens have the blue filter thing turned on, so at like 10 o'clock at night, I'll start noticing the screens will start turning like yellow. I hate that, but it is easier on my eyes. All right. Any questions on the dump 1090 or the virtual radar? All right. Just to recap, if you have an SDR and a computer sitting in front of you, you have everything you need right now to get this working in the next 20 minutes. There's nothing to it, folks. You just got to take the dive and do it. And the good news about the second project tonight is you don't have to like wipe out your Windows system to do it. You can literally just try this out. It's this runs in the background. If you have 2 screens, you can even leave it running on one screen while you're doing stuff on the other screen. It literally takes virtually no machine. It's hardly any of your machine's computing ability goes into this. So you can just leave it running. I have this on a Windows machine. It's been running for 4 days and 4 nights straight, and it is running perfectly. So that says a lot. If it's running good on a Windows machine, that says a lot. I have decided that I'm probably going to leave this up in the shack all the time. I've got a computer. I'm going to try to install 2 or 3 of these programs on one computer, hook it up to 3 screens, and just have all this stuff up all the time so that I can just turn the banks of screens on when I need to view it. I'm working on that right now. Also, I go to, you guys believe it or not, I go to thrift stores. I have had great luck in thrift stores with 32-inch screens and monitors and 22-inch computer monitors. And yeah, this one over here that you see behind me here, this one right here is that we've got the virtual thing on, and the screen's even bigger than it shows because it's framed right now. That monitor right there it's a 20-inch monitor, and it's beautiful, works perfectly. Everything works great on it. I got it for $6, I think, at a thrift store. It's still got the little sticker on it down there, the price tag.
Wow.
Yeah, computer screens are something you don't need to pay money for anymore. I can tell you that. You get a lot of stuff fairly inexpensive, and people have been donating me a lot of computers, but they have not been donating me screens. So I've been having to go out and kind of find the screens myself. So I go out and find them. And the cool thing is, once we get them switched over to Linux and we get everything working good on them, and we get the virtual or the team viewer and everything working on them, technically it doesn't necessarily have to have a screen, the keyboard, and the mouse hooked up to it.
Yeah, I run 2 or 3 Pis around here, headless like that.
Yeah.
Once you get to the point, if you need to get to them, you can just SSH into them.
Right. And if you can't get into them, then you just restart it, and then you'll be able to get into it. There's nothing to it. Right. Exactly. So to me, I mean, it's just, it's an amazing thing to use TeamViewer. If you guys haven't tried TeamViewer,
Oh, yeah.
wow. We have, I think, between Joseph and I, we've got 8 or 9 computers between us on TeamViewer right now. And I actually have a folder on TeamViewer for all the experimental computers. There's 6 of them. And I can actually give permission to a folder to you, and you would be able to get it all 6 computers just like that. It's pretty cool. We've been using this for a little while now. I've been using TeamViewer for years, and you know what's the best thing about TeamViewer is you're not cheating, because as long as you're using it for nonprofit purposes, it's completely free. You don't have to pay for it. So, and of course, what we're all doing here is nonprofit, so we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, TeamViewer is an amazing thing. All right, is there any questions on that? Any questions at all on the virtual radar for tracking planes and stuff like that? Man, we must be doing good.
It is.
Of course, I was going to say it's late. That's the problem. Well, there is the good news tonight, which is there's not a lot of news or anything else to tell you guys about. We're pretty much done. There was not a lot of news this week. So we're just going to go through the basics this week.
Hurricanes are going the other way. Yay.
Yep. And we, looking at the tropics, we can take a quick peek, but I can tell you guys right now, the tropics pretty much are quiet. We've got this storm here that's going to be heading up into the northeast. This may be the first landfall up. Believe it or not, they're going to get a hurricane up there, and this is a bit of a rarity. This doesn't happen that often. This may be the first, if not the first ever, first in a long time, to actually strike the coast where it's going to go in up there.
Connecticut.
Yeah,
Connecticut.
and Rhode Island. Yeah, it's going to go right in between there. So that's going to be interesting to watch how this goes. The good news is not a huge system, not a real powerful system. So going to go in is probably a Cat 1 hurricane. So we'll have to kind of watch that, and it's expected to be upgraded to a hurricane shortly. And of course, they've got up all the watches and warnings up there. Boy, you talk. Why did that pull up? It didn't pull up.
Imagine they getting real excited up there.
Yeah, they don't normally get that. And here's the thing: this is a pivot. Okay, anytime you have a storm that's supposed to stop going one direction and start going another direction, there's 2 things you got to watch for. Number 1, uncertainty, because anytime you have a sharp turn in a forecast like this, there's a lot. We don't know exactly what it's going to do, because where that pivot happens is a huge question mark, and it's going to make a big difference down the road. Number 2, it's very hard for the models to predict on something like this. So when you have a pivot like this, you can have a slowdown in forward momentum. You can actually have a storm stall over an area for a day and then start moving in the next direction. So that's a little scary. Those guys could really have a nasty mess up there, but it's not going to be anything devastating, thank God. And of course, they got watches and warnings all up along there. Surges, that's your surge warnings there. And they're only forecasting it. Let me go into tropical tidbits here. Boy, look at that. It's a machine, isn't it? I mean, it really is. It really is showing. I gotta wait for this thing to catch up here. It's showing some really nice outflow up here at this point. And you're starting to see. You're starting to see some of those characteristics. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's a machine, folks. Look at that.
That's
That
a little like Irma.
I'm telling you guys, that is a nice outflow pattern around the outside of that storm.
Yeah.
That is a very symmetrical storm. It's over the center, maybe off center just a little bit, but man, oh man, that is a machine right there. And the only thing that's going to stop this from slamming them as a Cat 3 is the fact that it's moving into colder water and less favorable conditions.
Long Island is going to get whacked good.
Yeah. Wow. That's something right there. The good news though here is the forecast intensity model. The intensity keeps it in the category 1 range. All the models are keeping it in the category 1 range. So that's your good news there. The other one, Grace
is headed to Mexico. Has already been to Cancun.
Yep. Yeah, it's already visited Cancun. There's really not much to talk about here. It's going to go in as a Cat 1. They do have the Hurricane Watch Net up for this one, I think.
Really?
And I'm sure they'll probably do that other one in the Northeast too. I did send some information out on that in the club newsletter that just went out yesterday. But they are doing the Hurricane Watch Net. If you guys aren't signed up for the hurricane or for the Southwest Florida Tech Team newsletter, you do not need to be a member of the tech team or pay anything or do anything. All you got to do is just give me your email address. It's right on the front page there on the right side, right below the videos. Just click that. Okay. Yeah, that's all there is there. So really not a lot going on. And let's just take a quick perusal of the models. By the way, the Euro model, I don't know what they did to the Euro model, but it's ruined. It's ruined.
Doing a lot.
They hired a new CEO.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something. Maybe the government took it over because it's not working anymore. I'm telling you, it's bad. Anyway, this is the American model, and you can see the two low pressure systems there. The one there at 994 millibars, heading up towards the Northeast there, and then we're going to move this forward in time. And as we go forward in time, we do see a low pressure center down in the intertropical convergence zone at 1,009 millibars starting to form up down there. So we move this in. It's gonna your storm's gonna go into the Northeast. That's gonna be that's Sunday afternoon, early evening, and you can see that we still got one coming across the intertropical here, and kind of washes out. But it is showing the persistence of some kind of low down there in the intertropical. So, but then towards the end of the run, we're not really showing much. So that might be some good news there. I don't really see anything there. If you guys want to run these models yourself, you can do that right there on Mike's Hurricane page. That is spaghettimodels.com, one of my favorite websites in the whole world. And when you're here, it's right up here at the top, right in the upper left corner under tropical weather updates. These are the models, and you just click on the model, zoom it down to where you can see the whole screen. And this is the really cool part. You just use your arrows to go forward and backwards in time. And I got to wait for the screen to catch up. It's doing that thing again that it did last week. It has something to do with system resources here. All right, I can use my left and right arrow to move forward and backward in time. Now the Euro only runs twice a day, I think, so it moves a lot faster than the other one. But it shows this one again going in just like the other one did. It shows the thing going in there, no surprises. Now let's move forward in time here, and it is developing a low down in the intertropical, bringing it across, and kind of washes it out into South America. So really not much there. So the good news right now is none of the, neither one of those two models. Let's see if the CMC shows anything. We'll just run one more here and see what we got.
Now, what is the CMC model? I see that, but I don't know.
I don't even know the name of it. I don't know. I'm not going to make up something. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Let's run this one forward, and we'll see the two storms do what they do. And again, a low developing, but this one takes the low way up north. That makes it a fish storm. Anytime anytime
running into New Jersey over there.
I'm gonna show you guys something. I learned this from a meteorologist about 30 years ago, years and years and years ago. When you have a storm coming across the intertropical convergence zone, and this is a rule of thumb, it's not a fact, it's a rule of thumb. You see this, the northern Leeward Islands here?
Yeah.
When this storm, or Windward Islands, I'm sorry, when this storm gets to these islands, if it is north of the northernmost island, it's an East Coast storm.
Yeah.
If it's south of the northern islands, it's a Gulf of Mexico storm. And that's kind of been a rule of thumb that I've watched for 20 years, and you want to know what? It's about 95% accurate.
However, I think the Hurricane Donna actually went north of Puerto Rico.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, it's not foolproof. It doesn't happen every time. But it's if you see a storm that's 200 miles north of that island when it goes by, chances are it's going to either hit the Carolinas or it's going to go on out to sea. Yeah. If it's down in these islands, when it gets to these islands, then we have to really watch that. It's going to be something that's going to come up into the Gulf or going to make a run at South Florida. But anyway, that's just a little rule of thumb I like to use out there.
This is on the WBBH broadcast tower.
I'm hearing a loud radio. I don't know where that's coming from.
Oh, here it is.
I think they're talking about the 685. All right. Let's see here. That's about it for that. Any questions or anything on hurricanes? All right. Well, the good news is, guys, there's nothing right now. That's all there is. There's nothing. So
We're two-thirds of the way through August, so that's a help.
Yeah, we are right now about 1 week from coming into the peak 4 weeks, so we're getting pretty close here. September, guys, September, it peaks sometime in early September.
September 10th.
Yep.
That's the same day for Irma and the same day for Hurricane Donna.
Yep. My mother went through Donna. I wasn't alive yet, but my mother went through Donna in a little house over off Central and Canal over in that area in Fort Myers. Yeah. All right. I told you guys about the website, spaghettimodels.com. Donate your old equipment to the tech team. What you guys saw tonight, all the stuff we presented to you, the computer that we rebuilt, the computer that we showed you the flight stuff on, all that stuff was donated equipment. Okay. And that equipment allows us to continue to not only provide these nets and have the material we need for that, but we're also trying to turn these things into services that you guys are going to be able to dial into and use from home. My goal in the next month is to get an FT8 server up so that you guys can do FT8 from home. Because you know what? I fell in love with FT8. And I want to share the love affair. I really do. I want you guys to see it. And a lot of you live in HOAs. And, since murdering all those people can't be done, I'm trying to find a way that we can get you guys on FT8. And so I'm looking for donated equipment. I'm looking for stuff that we can use. Computers, antennas, and specifically old HF rigs. Yeah, I am. I'm looking for old HF rigs. I'm looking for stuff that's broke, stuff that you don't want, stuff that is serviceable, stuff that maybe the knob doesn't work right anymore, but we can jimmy it around and get it on a frequency. That's what I'm looking for, because what I'm going to use it for, it's going to be on one frequency for the rest of its life. And I'm going to put it on 40 meters FT8, and that's going to be hooked up for that purpose only. And so that's what I'm looking for is 20-year-old equipment that can be interfaced easily, that we don't have to deal with a bunch of mess with, but yet if it doesn't work perfectly, that may be fine. I think we can still use a lot of stuff that may not be serviceable for someone that wants to use it for voice, but we may still be able to, it's still got a good transmitter and a good receiver. We may still be able to use it for what we're doing it for. So if you guys have any old stuff laying around, if you know anybody that's selling stuff really, really cheap or getting rid of stuff, let me know. Joseph and I have been talking, and we're also going to be hitting swap meets and stuff in the coming year as things open back up again. And I'm going to try to get some stuff that way too, because you can usually pick up, old HF rigs that are a little messed up for a song sometimes. And so we're going to try to do stuff like that too. But if you guys have anything, let us know. And if you donate, you don't have to join the team to donate. If you donate, I will still give you access to what we build. You'll still get access without necessarily joining the team. All right, the Tech newsletter, I've already mentioned it once. I'll just mention it real quick. It goes out a couple times a week, sometimes 4 times, 5 times, sometimes 1 time. It depends on how much information there is. As you guys know, amateur radio, you never know how much news there's going to be. Sometimes there's like none for like a week. So I put it out when there's something to put out. I'm not going to waste your time with filler and fodder. All right, joined today, the Southwest Florida Tech team is accepting members. We're trying to get about 5 more members, and then we're going to start our bylaw meetings. We're already set to go, but I would like to get a few more members in there because we want to start with a core of 15 or 20 members. So we're just wanting to get a few more people. The Southwest Florida Tech team, there's been a lot of activity this week on the repeater. We've got 4 or 5 different people now calling us and talking to us on the repeater. And so if you guys get a chance, give us a call. We're on the 775 repeater, and we use this repeater as a working channel when we're doing projects. You guys will hear us on here just talking about our projects and what we're doing. And hey, try this, hit the button. What happened now? That kind of stuff. So feel free to chime in and become part of the conversation on there. I'm trying to monitor it anytime I'm in the shack. I'm usually in the shack in the mornings and in afternoons till about 2 o'clock, about 1:30, and then I have to head to work. But I do try to monitor when I can. All right, and spread the word about this TechNet. We're having a real hard time getting the word out on this. The FMARC just doesn't send our emails out. They don't like to promote us at all. And they're really just not helping us at all right now. So if you guys can do anything you can to help us get the word out, Cars allows us to use their system, and we put the word out up there every week. And I'm putting the word out with our emailing list here, as well as our subscriber list on YouTube. And I'm trying to get the word out to everybody, but it's hard right now because, like I said, a lot of our people come from FMARC, and they're just not putting out anything for us right now. We're having a hard time with them right now. They don't want to support us at all. All right. And of course, all your radio resources are available on the Southwest Florida TechNet website. And that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tech tonight. I am still looking for co-hosts. I need co-hosts. Not that Joseph and I are going anywhere. We'll still be here every night, unless we're on vacation or something. But for the most part, we need people to help bring things to the net that Joseph and I have not done yet, like JS8 Call, like FL Digi, which I've had very little contact with. I want somebody to come teach us this stuff because I don't know how to do it either. We're looking for people to bring other ham-related topics. I don't care if you want to demonstrate working phone. I'm serious. Just put your web camera on and show me working phone. Everybody tells me you can do it. I've never been able to get nobody to answer a CQ. Yeah. But no, I would love to have people show us stuff. Demonstrate it. You can do it with a camera. You can do it with a screen capture. I'll work with you ahead of time. I'll build your slideshow. Joseph and I will work with you on your presentation, and we'll make sure it's great, unlike earlier tonight. So we need your help, guys. All right. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation tonight. I not too worried about earlier. Technology is what it is. The crash earlier was brought to you by Windows and the letter F.
Oh, somebody sent in the YouTube chat said they emailed you a picture of their ADS-B receiver, the airplane tracker receiver. They said they sent you a picture of it. If you could show it on the stream.
Yeah, let me see if I can get that real quick.
Wow.
Let me see. I'm pulling up my email now.
I wish the one time nobody talks in the chat the whole time, and then I accidentally let it go behind the Zoom window, and then someone's like giving us a cool thing. It's always how it works out, isn't it?
I usually watch it and I wasn't able to get onto it tonight for some reason.
We started the stream didn't start till after about we'd been talking for about 10 minutes.
Right. And I tried after that. And
It's working now. I was able to join it. This guy was able to join it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, everything's, once it went, I think everything's been working okay. I'm not recording the session, but YouTube's recording it, so we're okay there.
Got planes. Oh,
Yeah, this is what they sent me, the person sent me.
Flight aware, that's what it is. And they have the Pi aware thing that's like the, yeah.
Now this gets its info off the internet, correct?
No. This this should be, that's what he was saying, was that it's coming from his radio receiver.
yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Got a high up antenna.
That he's got a proper
Whoa.
antenna for it, it sounds like.
Yeah,
That looks
and,
about right.
And what? Well, and the cool thing about this is, I mean, like I said, he probably has a properly tuned antenna, and that helps a lot. And the other thing is you don't need it up real high, but you do probably need it up about 20 or 30 feet. You want it up to where, you know, it's got a clear view of the sky, and it doesn't have a building or something or a big tree right next to it. But for the most part, it doesn't have to be up 60 feet because you're picking up planes that are already up plenty high enough.
Yep.
I wish, is this something that we can connect to our thing?
What do you mean? Like
This flight aware, what is this?
that's a website. That's a public website, but he's showing his user end of it, but he can feed his data into that public website.
Ah, okay.
So we can go to flightaware.com and we can see that same thing. It'll just be over the internet.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever even looked at this website.
You can actually see the map of all the receivers. Let's see. I'm trying to see how to get to the actual map. Flight tracking. It should give us a map, I think.
Well, I got this one. Let's see.
Yeah. Mhm.
There we go.
You're in Atlanta.
Shows the radar too.
Yeah, you can always tell where Atlanta is.
Ah.
Well, that's damn pretty cool. I don't care who you are.
No, that you got weather radar.
There's only like 3 planes in our area anyway. I mean, we weren't seeing much on our tracker. There's not even anything here anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do during the day at like today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The last time I looked at it before I went in, there was 30 aircraft on there. I mean, it was busy.
Oh yeah, all the flights out, they stop at closing time, whenever that is. The only thing you're going to see is flights in, although I did see a flight leaving RSW not too long ago. So yeah, if we set one of these up, I mean, not that we need to because it's already got plenty of coverage, but we could have our system feed the data into the website.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm gonna build the right antenna for this weekend, and I plan to set this up and leave it running. So that might be what we do. We'll use this service, and I'll feed it data and just leave it running, and I get their data, they get my data. We're all happy family data.
What do you think about this? You still have that Pi there that's got nothing going on with it. We could do the full-on Pi aware setup. It should be pretty straightforward because there's going to be some really good guides made for it. We could do the Pi aware setup, have the dongle plugged into the Pi and the antenna, and do it that way. Because instead of using virtual radar server and a computer.
Yeah. And then just plug the SDR into the Pi.
Yeah.
That would be cool, and that would run without even using up one of our computers.
It might be a good first project to try.
That might be.
But we don't have to do that this weekend. We can do that whenever.
Well, yeah, I can set it up on a computer this weekend. The main thing I want to do is get the antenna built and get it up. That's kind of my project this weekend. I want to do the 2 satellites. I know you're doing the geosynchronous, but I want to do that other one, but it requires a special antenna that I don't think I'm up to building this weekend. I need to buy parts and stuff.
Yeah, I've been dragging my feet on that dish. There's another part which I think could have been causing it. And this weekend, if I can bring myself to do it, I'll try making another attempt at getting this up working.
Just so you guys know what we're doing, I decided that we've got to get more people involved in amateur radio. And the best way to do that is to put interesting things on the internet, which is where all of the people who are into technology are today. And one of the things we're trying to do on our website is we're trying to put an SSTV reflector so that you can test your SSTV or send SSTV greetings to the website, and they'll pop up on the front page of the website. Another thing that we're thinking about, or that we're trying to do, is we're putting geosynchronous and polar orbit weather data on our website. And the reason we're doing all this is because we want to show people, look, you can do this. This is something you can do. You don't even have to be an amateur radio operator necessarily, but of course the whole goal here is to get them to sign up. But this is something you can do. And we want, when people come to it, we want to show them, look, you can set this up in your shack. You can track planes. You can track the weather. You can track satellites. You can do all this really cool stuff. All stuff that I didn't even realize till I got an amateur radio that you could even do. And so I'm trying to interest people in amateur radio by getting it in front of them. And by doing this net and putting it on YouTube, we're getting it in front of them. We're getting 20, 30, 40, 50 people a week coming in and viewing our video, viewing a video in our library and seeing what we're doing. And that's what we're trying to do, is to get people interested in what we're doing. So I just want you guys to understand that the experimental computers, part of what we're doing with this bank of computers that we're building, and eventually there'll be 10 or 15 or 20 of them, is providing not only services to our members and to hams, providing data to data providers like the FlightAware and like to the PSK reporter. I'm wanting to set up PSK reporter monitors. That's something that we're wanting to do too. All of these things that we're wanting to set up is all going to feed onto our website so that people can go there and see all the really cool things that you can do as an amateur radio operator. That's what I want to do. I want them to be able to see all the really cool things that they can do as an amateur radio operator. That's it. And so that's kind of our goal here, along with, it also helps Joseph and I learn how to do all this stuff too, because we have to figure it out. And that's part of the fun. That's what we're all doing, right? So we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. And we're looking for other people that want to get involved with us with these projects. If you want to get involved, get with us. We'll get you involved with a project or 2. We'll get you signed in. We'll work with you on projects. That's what we're looking to do. That's all we want to do, is work with people on stuff. That's the difference between the tech team and the other groups and clubs around, is they're doing their thing and we're doing ours. And ours involves technology and not necessarily, socials and things like that. I'm looking to do more technical stuff. All right. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to bring up or discuss tonight? Or do they have any topics or problems you're having in your shack that maybe the genius Joseph or the rest of us might be able to help you with? And I don't, and I want to qualify by saying I wasn't being a smartass. I actually mean that. But yeah, if anybody has anything else they'd like to ask, we'd like to help. We do want to help you get things going.
Yeah, and also don't hesitate to send us an email. Our emails are on the TechNet website. Send me an email or send it to Ian. He'll forward it to me, and I can help you answer any questions that you might have, especially with our Linux thing that we had tonight. So, yeah.
Our email is both of us have an email address, which is our email at gmail.com, our call sign at gmail.com. It's real easy. So if you put in KM4OVZ at gmail.com, you'll get him. And mine is KO4EFS at gmail.com. You'll get me. Send it to both of us. Send it to one of us. We'll both get it. I'll make sure we both get it. And we'll send you some help. We got a couple of requests last week for help. And I think Joseph's going to be doing a slide presentation coming up for another group that's asked. And I believe we've also got someone else that's asked for help on a project that we're working on too. So we want to help, guys. We want to get involved. That's what we're doing. So other than that, is there anything else we can talk about before we end the YouTube?
Oh, I think that was a
I
pretty
just
good
wanted
one.
to throw one thing out there.
Okay, go ahead, John.
The VHF D-Star module C, is now on the air. So we now have module C and module B, both 440 and 2 meter. The 2 meter is on 147.375 with a 6 kc offset up.
Okay, so that's for people with D-Star.
Yep.
D-Star. All right, and there you go. And like I said, guys, the DMR in Lee County is still pretty low, but they are working on getting that up. And that's good to hear. We got a second frequency on D-Star now, so that's cool. And Fusion, if you've got Fusion, boy, get that hooked up because we're set up in Lee County for Fusion. All right. Anything else? I just want to mention, guys, there's a lot of area nets. Let's try to get out there and support our nets. Cars and FM ARC both have a lot of great nets. The Sunshine Net every morning at 8:30 is great up at in Charlotte County. The Traffic Net 10 o'clock here in Lee County. And but I wanted to,
T20 net.
Yeah, the $1.25. Yeah, the $1.25 net. That's Wednesday nights, or no, that's Thursday night. Thursday nights are a busy night. Yeah, because
it's Wednesday. $1.25 is on Wednesday.
Wednesday night. Wednesday night is
World Gadfest is on Thursday.
Thursday night, right? The Wednesday night nets are Wednesday night's busy because we've got the $1.25 at 7:30, and then we got the Fusion at 8. And also on Thursday nights we have the Gab Fest, and I believe there's also a SSTV net on Thursday night too. Yes. So there's different nets you can get involved with out there, guys. So get involved with all your area nets. And then also on Sunday night, at 7:30 on Sunday night, there is the Sanibel net, which is a great net out there that I participate in sometimes when I can, and also the Windmill net on 28 megahertz on 10 meters.
28.475.
Yeah, that's the Windmill net, and that's run by Charles. Yeah, exactly. So those are all good nets. So I just wanted to mention, I haven't mentioned all the nets in a while, and I should have had a graphic, but I don't. But just try to make them nets, guys, and support amateur radio by participating in some of the nets out there. All right. Does anybody have anything else?
I throw one more net out there.
Go ahead. Yes, any more nets? Absolutely. Go ahead.
The Florida WinLink net can be a lot of fun. Check out their webpage at w4akh.net. And let me verify that. Yes, w4akh.net, the Florida WinLink net. It's kind of an interesting thing because they always offer a bunch of peer-to-peer stations that you can send WinLink messages to check out your HF capabilities. And that's kind of cool to have a number of different pathways that you can get a message out if you need to. Anyway,
that's cool.
About that.
No, that's cool. I like that. That's cool. Any other nets or anything else like that anybody wants to mention? Any nets that they do? Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close the TechNet for tonight. If you guys want to hang around for a few minutes for a little gabbing, we can, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream. This has been the Southwest Florida TechNet on YouTube and on Zoom, and we'll be back next Friday night at 8 o'clock. So join us at SWFL